Bills and manifests are going around. Do we have any need for a non-public session to
Not
start
for the
with?
start, no.
All right, we'll get right into it then. We have Barrett Christina here from New Hampshire School Board Association. We asked him to come in so we could ask him some legal questions, and so. Goes over. First off, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. It's great.
Thank you for having me. For those
We
of
need you to speak into the microphone there, so.
Good.
Is it okay?
And you can still sit down, just drop the mic on here.
Do you want me to drop this and put it in front of you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, in case I need to reference the, on that.
Good, Gary?
Like that?
Yeah, he'll yell if not, so.
I'll do my best to speak to the mic so the room can hear me, so it can be captured on whatever recording devices you're doing. Thank you for having me. For those of you that I haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Barrett Christina. I am the Deputy Executive Director and Staff Attorney for the New Hampshire School Boards Association. Thank you for having me out. I know in some conversations with your superintendent, I sent you some documents about roles and responsibilities, right to know law, specifically non-public session. But in speaking with Bob, the board didn't have any specific desire for me to sort of work through those handouts. I see you've got a full agenda on your meeting tonight, so if we want to just open this up to sort of a general Q&A as to what may be on your mind relative to either roles and responsibilities or right to know law, I'm happy to do my best to provide some guidance and provide some answers. So who wants to go
All right,
first?
thanks. You guys wanna-
Were there any
Any specific
particular
questions?
subjects or topics?
I have questions, but I thought, on top of the questions that we were going to ask, that he was going to give us an overview of what we would get for the cost of having the New Hampshire School Board Association go through our policy book. And I
Sure.
forget what it was, $1,200 or something like that?
Sure, absolutely, Tim. Yeah, NHSBA is one of the services we provide. We provide, in addition to legal services and legislative services, you're probably familiar with our policy service as well, too, where we provide sample policies to school boards. One of the additional services is what we call a policy manual review. The cost, as you mentioned, is $1,200. For that cost, you send me, the general process is you send me your entire policy manual. I ask that you send me a hard copy, just it's easier for me to read through, as I'm sure you're familiar with the size of it. It'd be a lot of reading to do electronically. And also, I like the hard copy because I'm able to write notes and comments directly on the pages themselves. So I go through your entire policy manual, word for word, line for line, page by page, policy by policy, and I check for things to make sure that the policy is, one, up to date with current law, two, to make sure you have all the policies that are required by law, three, to make sure that there aren't any gaps in liability, to make sure that, you know, policy ABC is in line with policy XYZ. We know there are a lot of policies, and sometimes there are gaps, sometimes they overlap, sometimes there are discrepancies. I try and check for those as well, too. Primarily those to make sure that the policy manual, the two biggest benefits are, one, you have all the policies that are required by law, and two, that it's up to date legally to make sure that it's in line with current statute, current Department of Education rules and regulations. At the close of my review, or at the end of my review, I issue a written report, 3, 4, 5 pages or so, And I send back to the board the written report as well as the hard copy of the manual with all my written comments. So if it's a minor change, I can just cross off that word or that paragraph and write it in, as needed in pencil. If it's more substantive change, I'll just put a line through it and I'll write delete, see NHSBA sample policy, and I'll attach the NHSBA sample policy to that. The report will include a listing of the policies that may be missing from your policy manual that are required by law, and as well as recommendations and steps as to what the board can do to get the policy manual sort of in order and in line and up to code, and recommendations for, all right, first, obviously, the missing policies that are required by law, we're going to want to get those in first. Second, address this set of policies. Third, address those set of policies. The normal turnaround time is anywhere between 8 and 10 weeks. That varies based on a variety of factors, primarily my schedule. For example, I'm be taking some vacation this summer, obviously. Obviously the second largest factor is the condition of your policy manual. If it's in pretty good condition and the board has been pretty good about keeping it up to date, I can get through it in 8 to 10 weeks. Others I've had where I feel like I'm starting from scratch with the policy manual, and policies are decades old and haven't been updated or reviewed in a number of years, and obviously that takes a little bit more time. So that's the general process, if you will, for the policy review. NHSBA does probably 6 to 8 of these a year for districts all across the state.
We decided to do that. Can you bill us before the end of this current year? I didn't say do it, just bill us.
Sure. Sure.
And look at a page or two.
Yeah, sure. I'd have to double check with my executive director and our office manager who handles our sort of accounting and billing, just to make sure that it would be rectified across the fiscal years and how we would do that. But I can certainly ask them that tomorrow, and if that would be beneficial for you guys to do it out of this fiscal year, I can.
It's almost a must.
It's almost a must. If it's a must and you want to go forward with it, I'm sure we can find a way to make that work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there 2 different levels of review? I mean, there was some discussion of like an $800 one that was like a...
No, the $800 one, that doesn't sound familiar. I know the $1,200 policy review, a few years ago, that was, I think, $900, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
I think that's the one I mentioned.
Oh,
You did
okay.
Nottingham's, and their bill was $900.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I used as an example. We
Sure.
didn't know that it had gone up, but everything else has, so I'm sure you have.
Sure, yeah, the same service.
Yeah.
Yep,
Thanks.
yep.
Any other questions on that, or?
Any other policy-related questions or any other topics? I'm here at your disposal, so.
We got for another 20
I don't
minutes.
have any other questions on that.
Yeah, I don't have any on that.
All right. Any other questions on anything else then?
I do.
Okay.
So starting out, one of the big things for me is the public's right to know. It bothers me immensely when it's violated. It's violated far too often for me. And I'm just going to give you, for instance, and I'd like you to comment on it. And I would like to say, we're on camera, so I would like to say to people who read this, the item I'm bringing up is a nice item. This is not something that anybody needs to worry about. But it concerns me that in the email to us, it says, how about this? So that we don't have to, sorry, I need my glasses. So that we don't have to discuss this in a public meeting, how about each board member send me their vote individually, and I'll tally the results and report them to Wendy? I'd like you to comment on that.
The baseline aspect with anything relative to the right to know law, and the default position with anything relative to the right to know law, is openness and transparency with government proceedings. There is a provision, this is RSA 91-A:2-a, communications outside of meetings. Unless exempted from the definition of a meeting under RSA 91A2, paragraph 1, public bodies shall deliberate on matters over which they have supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power only in meetings held pursuant to and in compliance with the provisions of RSA 91A2. Communications outside a meeting, including but not limited to sequential communications among members of a public body, shall not be used to circumvent the spirit and purpose of this chapter as expressed in RSA 91:A, meaning that transparency and openness are paramount when it comes to the right to know law in public bodies and their proceedings.
So I appreciate your legalese.
I was going.
That's not legal.
I was going to continue on.
Okay,
If
because
it
that's
said-
not legal, right?
The NHSBA recommendation would be that votes not be taken via email or electronically, and any vote via official board action occur at a duly called meeting.
So, in another one, and this one has been straightened out to a point. Minutes are held in different regard by different people. I hold them in very high regard. I think minutes should be accurate. I think minutes should at least portray what was said, or nearly what was said, at least the overall conversation.
Sure.
I particularly think if members of the public or others say something, that should be extremely accurate in discussion. And it is my understanding that minutes should be approved in public. So one of the things that came out of your meeting with the chairs was that at this board level, we were told, and it has been changed to a point, and I'm going to explain that, we were told that we no longer would be allowed to correct minutes at our public meeting, but instead we would, and this gets back to a sequential email
yep.
communications, we were requested to email our secretary with anything we wanted to change, and she would change it and then bring a corrected. Well, that doesn't give the other people a chance to agree or
Comment,
disagree,
sure.
et cetera. Now, at this point, that's been changed, although they would like us to email her anyway, but they are going to allow minutes to be approved at a board meeting. And I don't know if you want to comment on that, but to me, that's another clear violation of sequential
Sure.
email.
Sure. Let me talk about the minute aspect and the approval aspect of that first. Curiously, there's nothing in the right to know law that speaks to the board approving minutes. Obviously, you're required to take minutes, and certain things need to be included in the minutes. But there's a gap or a disconnect, if you will, between what the statute says relative to minutes and what I'll call sort of practical practice or actual practice relative to approval of minutes. Even if the board did not sit down and formally approve or formally adopt minutes of a meeting, some document still needs to exist. So we know that minutes need to be made available within 5 business days of the meeting. If somebody were to come in to the superintendent's office or call Bob or email Bob on that 6th day, before minutes have presumably been typed up, before minutes have been approved by the school board, there needs to be a paper document of something that you would need to be able to provide to the person who's coming in to request those. I think the practice in most school districts is that if a request for minutes comes in before the board has had a chance to formally approve those, a copy goes out, a PDF, and it's got a watermark that says draft or subject to final approval, something along those lines. So just everybody is familiar with that process. In terms of approving the minutes, if the board, I think my opinion would be, if the board takes official action relative to approving the minutes, such that a motion is made, I move that we adopt the minutes of the May 15th meeting, seconded, approved, and then presumably there's a discussion about that. Since there's a vote and a formal approval of those minutes, I'm inclined to think that should also occur at a public meeting, because any official action, any vote, any motion needs to occur at a public meeting.
Okay. And with minutes, I think what confuses or what throws a bunch of trash into the conversation about minutes is some places make very limited minutes. We came, we saw, we conquered, and we went home. Okay? And personally, I would have a real argument with that. I can't tell you how many times, both at the town level and the school level, I've gone back to look something up
And it's not
in
there.
minutes, and I expect it to be there.
Yep.
You know, and if it's not, I'm upset. You know, and I think that's a fair thing, because there should be a record of what we did. But anyway, I want to get away from saying that. So what happens is, some places have very limited minutes, and some places have ridiculous minutes, and then some places, and I happen to think this board is somewhere in the middle, where we have some minutes that should accurately portray what went on. And so I like approving minutes, and that's something the board would have to discuss. I would have a heart attack if we didn't approve minutes, personally, because there, at times, are mistakes. Maybe the secretary, the latest issue was she couldn't hear one of the members of the public. So several things that the member of the public brought to our attention were not in the minutes. And that's one area where I think it's really important, personally, that minutes is in. So, all right,
Can we let somebody else?
go
ask
ahead.
that?
Sure.
I just wanted a little clarification on what you just said, because you said that we should be approving the minutes in public, which I get, but what Tim was saying is making the changes, sending the changes, like I have a list of changes for the minutes that we're
Right.
going to approve tonight.
And the interest of
sending those ahead of
expediency, you send them
time
to the secretary ahead of
Right.
time to put them in a,
in the correct form, instead of discussing it.
Right.
Like, now what we do is we bring them forward, we discuss them, or I'll say, no, on line 152,
Right.
this should say this.
right,
And what the chair was saying was, send that to the secretary. She
Right,
can correct
prior
the
to the
minutes,
meeting for
And then
expediency.
we can approve
I mean,
those
I-
minutes.
I honestly, I can see both sides of that. On one hand, the board, you know, there may be a desire among the board to have the conversation relative to those changes in the public forum. On the other hand, it providing, you've gotten a draft presumably from either Bob or his assistant, so you're sending a comments back. That's to a degree an administrative function. You know, the development of the minutes is an administrative function. The voting of the approval of the minutes is a board function, which needs to take place at a meeting. I mean, I don't want to sidestep the issue, but rather than giving firm legal advice or a recommendation, it's something I'd like to think about, and I'm happy to respond in more detail. If I could speak about your questions, Tim, or comments about sort of the breadth and scope of minutes, what needs to be included in them. You know, I always say that minute taking is an art. It's not a science. I know I can tell you what the right to know law says needs to be in minutes, but that's very bare and probably does not satisfy either this board's desire or the public's desire and right to know. Minutes, as a matter of law, only need to include names of the persons of the public body who are present, persons appearing before the board, so presumably my name will appear in your minutes, a brief description of the subject matter discussed, and that's a quote right out of the statute, and a record of all final decisions made by the board. So, you know, presumably, you know, the brief description of a subject matter discussed is not defined. There's no clarification in the right to know law as to what that encounters or what that entails. You know, satisfying the public's right to know, sure, more information is obviously desirable, but I also don't think that minutes should be a verbatim transcript. And where that happy medium is between not enough information and a verbatim transcript of what everybody has said, I mean, I guess that varies town to town, board to board, district to district. I agree. I've seen some minutes that are not perhaps fully sufficient to either the board's liking or the public's liking, and I've seen the other side where you've got, you know, a 2-hour meeting and you've got minutes that are you know, 80 pages long.
We could show you a couple of those.
Yeah, sure.
Not school board minutes, but.
Sure.
But
So speaking of minutes, I'm changing topics a little bit here, but going to non-public meetings,
Sure.
if the board votes to go into a non-public session, and then does not seal the minutes afterwards, but there's more information that was in the non-public session that is not minutes, because our minutes for non-public sessions are
Right,
typically sparse.
right.
Is that still protected and can't be shared with third parties in the public, or is
Yeah,
that?
my general recommendation is that I treat non-public sessions like I treat Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in non-public session stays in non-public session.
Even if you don't vote to seal the minutes?
Even if you don't vote to steal the minutes. The purpose of the non-public session, of going into non-public session, is because you're inherently discussing something that's private or confidential, whatever it may be. And while the minutes may not fully reflect the entire scope of every comment and everything that was said and every sentiment that was said or felt within the non-public session, I mean, I think the safest course of action is not to disclose the information, you know, to third parties outside of the board and people on a sort of a need-to-know basis relative to what the full nature and content and extent of that conversation was, because you're talking about something that is, by a matter of law, private or confidential, which is why you're in non-public session to begin with. I mean, that's sort of a baseline recommendation. There may be, did you want to follow up to?
Well, yes, so,
Can we let
I mean-
everybody have a turn first, so, I mean, I'll let you go. You guys have anything else you want to ask?
Just on the email that,
we're running out of
difference
time.
of email that Tim brought up about the voting. Now, I understand if it was like for a proposal, say we have a paving proposal that came out and say, hey, let's get a vote on this. But this type of email is like a email that's for a award for a ceremony
Yeah.
for a kid.
Yeah.
So does it, I mean, how much weight, how much weight does that compare to that?
I mean, you know,
Would you, like, we wouldn't
had-
announce it here because the kid will know, we wanted it to be a surprise.
Sure.
So,
Sure. I mean, you know, I can't advise you ever to not follow the right to know law.
absolutely,
You know, and you know, I will give you this scenario, which may or may not be related. The right to know law, the non-public session provisions especially, are very specific about what you're allowed to discuss and go into non-public session for. As a general recommendation, you know, we say unless the desired reason for entering non-public session fits squarely within what the statute says you're allowed to, the best practice is discuss it in public session, or at the very least, call me or call your attorney and get an opinion before you go into non-public session if you're not sure. And every year, you know, come May, I get a call from a school board that says we're giving an award, a surprise, a scholarship to a student. We want to keep it to a surprise. We want to keep it a surprise. Are we allowed to go into non-public session to discuss that? The only provision that we use to discuss student matters in non-public session is paragraph C, the reputation provision. Well, does winning an award adversely affect some kid's reputation? Probably not. But is it desirable for the board to be able to communicate in a manner that keeps it secret or surprise so the kid can be surprised and the parents can be surprised? I won't tell you what I recommend to that school board, but based on the gist of our conversation, sometimes sometimes practicality has to take some precedent. I mean, but you know, you be mindful with the limitations with which you sort of use the justification for going into non-public session. Email, I mean, if the board is taking a vote, again, I really don't like that, even if it's, you know, do we want to order, I mean, you know, are we going to order pizza or subs for our school board meeting tonight? Okay, well, that's not official school district business, but, you know, I really prefer any vote occur in public session or in non-public session, as the case may be.
and I wouldn't mind if we had had that discussion in non-public, not at all.
Sure.
You know, that would have been fine, I would, you know, and I do think that's a little queasy.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't bother me at all, you know, we were trying to keep something quiet. Voting via email is just something I won't do.
Right.
You know, so,
Fair enough. Bree, did you have any questions? No? Don't mind, I got just one other that came up with our budget committee.
Yep.
They had mentioned that, and we've gone through this for a long time, I always hear it, if we have a line item that's zero, right, on our budget, can we expend out of that line if it's part of the larger budget, not voted on individually? Or does there have to be a dollar there in order to do that?
Let me ask you, how did the line item get $0?
Well, there's a couple
mean-
different ways that could have happened.
No, it wasn't made up.
Well, yeah, one of them is, it's because of our default budget, like say the curriculum director, that was not in our default budget. So, but it's so it's a zero item.
I mean, did the
on there.
board, so you have a municipal budget committee under RSA
Yes.
32, so
Yep.
they present the budget at your annual meeting or deliberative session, whatever
Well,
you've
they don't
got.
present it, we present
No,
it.
they present it. They present it.
Oh, that's true, yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
I mean, it's the budget committee's budget,
Yep.
essentially.
Yep.
So and was it, when you say a line item, are you talking about?
Fair, in this particular instance, what happened was, we've got two positions. We've got a crossing guard position that was put into the proposed budget.
Okay.
And we've got a two-fifths curriculum director position that was put into the budget. The budget
New
failed.
positions, new positions?
They would have been new positions.
Okay,
The budget failed, and we're operating next year on the default budget.
okay.
So what we would like to do is to find the money elsewhere, if possible, in the default budget, to fund those two positions.
So were those, was the
I think
budget?
you just confused the issue.
No, this is,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Answer.
I thought you were asking something else.
no, this is how they got into the budget with a zero on them.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's other ways too, but this is, this particular one.
Given that this is very fact-specific, I'm happy to provide a response, but I don't want to do so on the spot, and I hope you can respect that. If you desire thoughts and comments on that, Bob, if you want to contact me about that, I'm happy to research it and get some more facts and information, but I don't feel comfortable answering that on the spot right now.
I think that and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that the discussion is that if the board wants to transfer money,
Yeah,
can they transfer money within their budget as long as there is a function code, not necessarily a line item, but a function code?
right. The RSA 32:10, transfer of appropriations. If changes arise during the year following the annual meeting that make it necessary to expend more than the amount appropriated for a specific purpose, the governing body, i.e. the school board, may transfer to that appropriation an unexpended balance remaining in some other appropriation, provided, however, that A, the amount, total amount spent does not exceed the total amount appropriated. Records shall be kept by the governing body. Statement comparing all legislative body appropriations against all expenditures. Any amount appropriated at the meeting under a special warrant article may be used for this purpose specified in that article and shall not be transferred. I'll save you the rest of reading the statute. So again, if you want a more firm answer, Bob, if you want to get in touch with me, I'm happy to do it. I don't feel comfortable giving an answer on the spot right now.
I appreciate that. Good.
So this came up Tuesday night at the Budget Committee, and you were given two examples.
Yeah.
So, and there's many examples.
Sure.
Here's another example. So, new equipment. We had no money, we didn't have a dollar in that line.
Okay.
But yet we now have purchased a considerable amount of $4,706. And we've always been told, I've been told on many different, as a selectman, as a school board member, as a budget committee member, et cetera, that you cannot spend money out of a line that has zero. Now, and the next line down is replacement of equipment, and I can't imagine why we didn't put that money in replacement of equipment. There's no problem with spending the money. We have the money. That's not the issue. The issue is the Budget Committee is asking, fairly, I think, that we've all been told over the years, if you don't have a dollar in that line,
Right.
you can't put that in that line. You can overspend another line that you have money in.
Right.
There's just, the crossing guard was once, but for instance, new furniture. nothing is in line for new furniture, but yet we've spent a bunch of money. The very next line is replacement of furniture. Why it wouldn't have just gone into, which we do have money in, in the budget for that, why it just didn't go into replacement of furniture befuddles me. But that's the question, I mean, that the budget committee is, because we've all been, for years, if you don't have at least $1, so
No
if you
means
went
no,
through.
essentially.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
went through many school and town budgets, you would find dollars.
Right.
In certain lines, in case they decided to spend there.
So you get back to us on that. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely. Bob and I will follow up with one another.
Thank you. Is there any other questions we want to do in the very
just have
few
a
minutes we have left
Quick
here?
question.
Sure.
Because we do have a budget committee, are we required by law to give them every piece of information that they request?
I thought that was an easy question.
I didn't say it was easy. If some of the information is in our minutes or something like that, are we still required to refurbish those?
Sure. This is RSA 32:16, paragraph 2. This is duties and responsibilities of the Budget Committee. To confer with the governing body or bodies and with their officers, school board, department heads, and other officials, BA, superintendent, relative to estimated costs, anticipated, and services performed to the extent deemed necessary by the Budget Committee. It shall be the duty of all such officers, school board, superintendent, and other persons to furnish such pertinent information to the Budget Committee. And then 32:17 is duties of governing body and other officials. I'll go through the statute and I'll give you what I generally recommend when I get these questions from school boards. Governing bodies and municipalities shall review the statements submitted to them under the RSA, under RSA 32:4, and shall submit their own recommendations. I don't think that necessarily addresses the question, but the first sentence I read, it shall be the duty of such officers and other persons to furnish such pertinent information to the Budget Committee. Here's what I generally recommend. If you have a Budget Committee, obviously, before you get into the quote-unquote budget season, whenever the Budget Committee starts their work, October, November, whenever that may be, invite them in, the chair or whoever, invite the whole Budget Committee in, talk to the chair, seek to establish some sort of protocols with how requests for information will come in from the district. If that's going to be through a liaison, if that's going to be through the board, the Budget Committee board chair. It's not helpful to the Budget Committee or to the school district if by chance the superintendent or the BA get the same request from every single Budget Committee member. I don't know how many you've got, 10 or 12 or 15, however many are on the Budget Committee. So seek to establish some protocol that works for the Budget Committee, seeks to establish some protocol that works for the central office as well too. Ask the Budget Committee to be mindful that while you'll do everything within your power to provide them the information that they're requesting, school district staff, their first responsibility is the operations of the school district under the direction of the superintendent. That means that, BAs and secretaries don't necessarily have time to recreate spreadsheets or to run numbers or to, do projections and this, that, and the other thing. They're certainly entitled to information and documents that already exist, and we want to provide them to them in a timely manner so they have the information. But my take would be that school district staff work for the school district, and their first priority is to work for the school district under the direction of the superintendent. And if more information is needed, additional spreadsheets, Excels, whatever they may be, some method of resolution needs to be reached on that. What that is, can take on a variety of flavors, but that would be my recommendation.
Any very last things? Make it quick.
Yep, I do. Barrett, I mentioned, and I'll be as quick as I can. I mentioned the other day at the meeting on school board, on the superintendent's evaluation, and thank you for that. I
Certainly.
thought you did a very, very good job.
Thank you.
I mentioned that around the state, there's a lot of angst between school boards and other members and the superintendents. I also, and I'm just going to assume you're aware of it, that there's a lot of angst coming up in the last year or two between some school board members and other people and the New Hampshire School Board Association. I know of 3 close to us, school districts that have people who are, 1, actually doing it, and 2, talking about petitions to defund belonging to the School Board Association. And I'm sure you're aware of that. I think that's very sad. I think that school boards need a New Hampshire School Board Association.
Thank you.
And I think part of the problem is it's hard for us to see sometimes you as a school board association, but rather as a superintendent association. We need a school board association. So, and I'm not really asking any questions, I just have 2 suggestions. One is on that. I wondered, I'd like to see if, and I don't want any answer tonight, if you would consider the New Hampshire School Board Association, I think you know who the players are, who are upset, and things like that, of having some sort of a meeting and inviting preemptively those people who are not quite happy with the way things are going, and having a discussion about that, and seeing if some resolutions could be made. So that's one thing. And the other, I'm going to try again. I tried 3 years ago, I think. One of the things that really, really bothers me is the lack of knowledge that I have on some of the MSs and the
MS forms, is that what you?
MS
yeah.
forms, some of the higher end of the financial things that we have to deal with. And we're just expected basically to sign them and continue them on, and I'm very uncomfortable with that.
Sure.
So I asked, I think 3 years ago at one of your meetings, for you guys to consider putting on some kind of a seminar to give us more
Okay.
information.
Yep.
And so I'm asking again,
Sure.
you know, we just went through an audit, and boy, I'll tell you, to read the audit, and I'm sure it's a perfectly fine audit, but it's really hard for people who don't have that kind of a background. And I just think if the school board were to put some kind of a seminar, I certainly would be one
Sure.
that would sign up in a hurry to go to
Sure.
something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you, as always, for your comments, Tim. You know, we appreciate your feedback and your support of NHSBA, as well as the board's support of NHSBA. To your second comment first about setting up some sort of workshop, perfect timing. I'm glad I'm here tonight. I'm glad you had a chance to relay that to me, because Ted Comstock, our executive director, and I are sitting down, I believe, next week, and we are going to be calendaring out our training schedule for next year, and so I will certainly bring that to his attention. We do sort of a broad-based budget workshop.
And I've been to that.
Yeah, and I think I think that may fit well into either a portion of that or an additional session along those. So I'll certainly bring those thoughts back to Ted. Relative to your other comments about the School Boards Association and certain members that may not be happy with some of the services we provide or some of the positions that we take, I like to think that I know I have an open phone call policy, if you will. If any of our members are unhappy with a service we provide, advice I've given, positions we've taken, we certainly want to know that. The first and foremost, we consider ourselves a service organization, and we're here to serve our members. And if there are ways that we can do that better, if there are ways that we can do that more effectively, if there are ways that we can do that to capture the needs and desires of all 160 some odd members of NHSBA, we certainly want to hear that. So if your board collectively, or if you have individuals have questions, concerns, thoughts, comments, by all means feel free to call me or email me at any time, and I'll take your thoughts back to our executive director, Ted Comstock, and let him know that you and I had this conversation, and you brought up those concerns, and hopefully they'll be addressed and resolved. Absolutely. More than anything, we value your continued membership, and we know the only way we're going to keep that is if to be responsive to the needs of our members, and we certainly do our best to try and do that. And if there are questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, whatever they are, you are free to contact me at any time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. Appreciate it.
Anything else? I know you've got a full meeting and a
Yeah,
full
I think we
agenda.
gotta move on to,
Alrighty. Thank you again for having me. As I just said, thank you for your continued membership in NHSBA. If there are any follow-up, by all means, let me know. Tim, thank you as always for your comments. Thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the food service presentation by Fresh Picks. This one? Yeah. Maybe.
Could you perhaps just make a little note to yourself that we should make a vote on that, if we're going to do it this year, before the night's out?
On this?
No, on whether we're going to
policy
use the policy.
Oh,
Do
sure.
the policy.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, again.
Hi again. My name is Chris Farrow. I'm the Director of Operations for Fresh Picks Cafe. I didn't prepare any kind of sales presentation or anything tonight. I was really just kind of figuring that I'd give you a little information and background about the company for those of you who are new to the school board. I haven't met us before, and then answer any questions you have about our proposal. So, Fresh Picks Cafe is a division of Cafe Services. Cafe Services was founded about 24 years ago now by two gentlemen, Brian Stone and Bill Van Zandt. Brian and Bill were working for large food service management companies in different, settings, colleges, schools, that kind of thing. And they kind of decided that they could do a better job. They really didn't like the way that the larger companies treated their employees, treated their clients, their focus on food quality, any of that. So they had a friend who owned a bus company who decided he would help them get off the ground. And those three gentlemen went and met with a business administrator in the Upper Valley and explained what they wanted to do. The business administrator looked across the table at them and said, "So let me get this straight. You want me to contract my food services with a bus company?" They said, "Yeah, actually we do." And that was the beginning of Cafe Services 23 years ago in Mascoma School District. Over the past 23 years, in addition to Mascoma, which we still serve, we've added on 58 school districts, 32 summer programs, about 50 corporate dining locations under the Cafe Services brand, and 15 assisted living homes under the Glendale Senior Dining brand. Our annual revenues are just shy of $60 million, which puts us at number 38 in the top 50 management companies in the country. We are still family-owned by Brian Stone and the 5 other members of the Stone family that work in the corporate office. And Brian and Bill are still involved in operations day to day. Locally, we provide service for the school children in Dover, Barrington, Somersworth, Rollinsford, Milton, Wakefield, Pittsfield, Fremont, Sanborn. Next year, a little further away, we'll be going into Hampstead. So, we're very familiar and a very big presence in the Seacoast area. So with that, I guess I'll open it up to questions and find out what you guys would like to know.
I was looking through some of the programs that you had, and how many Seacoast area local farmers do you work with?
So, I can even speak to this area specifically. We will be able to do a lot with New Hampshire Cider Works, which is Duane Family Farm out of Alton, and an orchard out of Concord, and I'm blanking on the name for that. We'll be able to do a lot with them. We have done some work with Autumn Bume Farm over in Pittsfield in the past. And then we've also done some with Greens and Beans. I'm not sure if they deliver down this way. We've done a couple of things with them. We haven't done a lot. There's another organization that we're starting to work with, Three Rivers Farmers Alliance. And they have a model similar to the model we're very involved in Cheshire County and Vermont, where we work with nonprofit organizations that have a distribution network set up for the farms. and it's really a great avenue for getting food from the farms to the schools. Three Rivers Farmers Alliance is actually not a nonprofit, but it's a business with that same model. It's owned by the farmers, and it is basically creating a distribution channel for those farmers. And I remember off the top of my head, they're working with Heron Pond, Meadows Mirth. Those are the two I remember off the top of my head. There's about 7 or 8 farms involved in it. We're working with them right now to establish a relationship for next year. They're not currently coming to this area, but Umami, which is going in up the street, and Susties have both expressed interest in working with them. So that's another possibility for this area as well.
Anybody else have questions? Oh, you guys didn't look at it. I got this today, so I was able to look through it. So I know that there was the decrease in the cafeteria staff. There was a decrease in the cafeteria staff, and can you just, from what we have right now, so can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay, so actually, it is based on the staff that's there right now. They are one short compared to where they started at the beginning of this school year, and we're proposing to just keep the staffing at that level. And we would support that with mentor food service directors. Shelley LeClaire is our food service director over in Barrington. She's one of our top food service directors, been with us for about a decade now. And she really loves that mentorship role in working with new food service directors. She's developed a lot of our food service directors in the Seacoast area. Plus then we also employ floating chef managers who do everything from training to supporting staff on bigger events. You know, if we're doing a tasting station for the first time or an action station for the first time, school barbecues, that kind of thing, as well as just filling in if we need an extra set of hands.
I have a question about for the free and reduced lunch stuff. There's paperwork that needs to be done to get those prices and get the reimbursements.
Yep.
How much of that will you take care of versus how much will we have to do external?
By USDA regulations, we're not allowed to do those free and reduced applications for you. So that function would have to move off to either the SAU or another entity because we're not allowed to do them for you.
Okay, so just the applications, and then after the applications are done,
Then, yeah, we take everything from
billing would be, and the recording and stuff is there? Okay.
Yep, and that's all ours. It's just processing those applications, approving those applications, and then doing the verification process on those applications. We're not allowed to do that for you.
Okay, thank you.
So the food service director would be working for you.
Yes.
Are they a 40-hour a week person?
Yes.
Because then if that was the person that we chose to, or asked to do the paperwork also, because
Then, yeah,
that's the
I mean-
person that handles it right now,
Right. Yep.
so.
Yeah, you could, I mean, the school district could employ that person outside of the cafeteria role as an SAU employee to process those for you.
On a stipend or something?
No.
You going to talk about the financial end of it, or?
Sure, if you'd like to.
Well,
Do you,
Yeah, that's the.
so my understanding, reading this, is that you're guaranteeing that the most in the first year we would have to subsidize is $31.74?
that is correct.
Okay.
And for an explanation of how this financial process works. So, we've prepared a forecast based on what we believe we can do for revenues in the next school year. It's based on what your participation levels are now, what we feel we can increase those participation levels to, and all of that kind of stuff. So those revenues that are generated remain revenues of the school district. Cafe Services does not take that money. We basically manage it for you, deposit it into your bank account, and those revenues stay with you. On the expense side, in terms of the food, the labor, paper products, cleaning products, all of that kind of stuff, Cafe Services purchases that on our own. We purchase that through our vendors. We get better pricing than a school district on its own normally would, because whereas you're buying for just shy of 300 kids. We're buying for 180 businesses and schools throughout New England. So we purchase for you, and then every month, the school district reimburses cafe services for the expenses that we've incurred. So any revenue that's realized in excess of what we forecast basically becomes extra profit for the school district and would reduce that subsidy of $3,000 even less. If we are able to, if we meet that $170,000 revenue projection, or even come a little shy, but are able to keep our expenses in line and keep them lower than we forecasted, then that subsidy would be less. But if we've made an error on what we think we can generate for revenue, or what we think it'll take in expenses, and our revenues are lower and we're not able to control the expenses to that extent, the most you would subsidize is $3,000. Any subsidy over that would come out of our management fee.
What about, like, that's just for the first year, I
That's
imagine?
for every year of the contract.
For every year of the contract?
Yep.
And how long a contract we?
So what happens is you enter into a one-year agreement with us.
Yep.
You have 4 renewals where you can choose to renew the contract with us for 4 years. After every 5 years, you have to go through this RFP and bid process again, whether you're happy with the program or not. And that's the USDA regulation. So basically, every year, you decide whether or not you want to invite us back for another year. So you have that opportunity every year. And then there are clauses in there as well that the contract can be terminated, I believe, on 30 or 60 days' notice. So if at any point in time you're not happy with the services we're providing, you can show us the door.
I did see something in here about, sorry, I forgot where I put it, about spending $10,000, up to $10,000 on improving the kitchen.
Yep.
Does that come out of the expenses, or that?
So what happens is, that's another expense where cafe services pays that expense up front. Rather than charging that expense in 1 month, we depreciate it over that
Over the
5-year
course of
term
it.
that we were talking about.
Okay,
So basically, if we were to spend that whole $10,000, then that would get depreciated, that would come out to $200 a month for 10 school years for 5 years. It would be depreciated over that time. We know that you definitely need a steam table. The one that's there now is not working, and it really does need to be replaced. From speaking to the ladies that work in the cafeteria, there's a lot of other equipment too that is either on its way out or will be declared dead when we have somebody look at it. So we've put in up to $10,000 investment to get some of that stuff taken care of. If we,
is that in this price right now?
that
or
is
it-
in that price right
Okay.
now. Yep. And if we don't see the need to do all $10,000 worth, or if you choose, hey, don't spend that money, we're going to put in a CIP and, you know, do it over this time or whatever, then that subsidy would actually be reduced by that much more.
All right, thanks.
Oh, and with that, we do that model of purchasing it for you and then the depreciation, because then after 5 years, you own that equipment.
Right.
If we terminate the agreement in that 5 years, then you'd have the choice to either pay off the rest of the depreciation or have us take the equipment back.
Okay, fair enough.
I just had a question in the part of the proposal, or I don't know which it is. But it says, we have proposed establishing an SAU level food service director. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
So I
That-
was just wondering where that came from and everything. I cannot see the other two schools.
Which part is that in? Is that
It's
in
on the
the?
last page, you
of the
signed it.
executive
It's
summary?
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
that's what it is.
I'm thinking that just got missed.
Okay.
Because, yeah, I agree. And I think what it was, because we used, I'm pretty sure you're all aware, we went through this process during the last school year. And that was one of the conversations, because there were a couple of the school districts looking at doing this. And I think that's probably left over from
Okay.
last year's template.
I just want to make sure.
Yep, nope.
Chris, could you speak to our existing staff? We've got some hardworking people down there. What's your process for staffing your crew?
Okay. So, as often as possible, we try and retain the employees that are in the district. It makes the most sense for everybody. It makes the most sense for us because they know the building, the community far better than we do it, especially when we come in. It makes the most sense for the building because it gives them some of that continuity, that kind of stuff. Really, and as I spoke to the ladies, because I did meet with them a couple weeks ago, as long as they have the right attitude, as long as they're right here for the right reason, which is to make good food and have these kids enjoy their lunch period, we can train them anything else. So really, the process is that we do put them through an interview and background process. The interview is really kind of an informal interview, really just finding out what their current role is so we can kind of figure out how that would work in the things that we do. I can tell you that you're right, the ladies here do run a very nice program. They offer a lot of choices. So a lot of the things they're doing now would be similar to what we do. We might do it a little different way, but they'd be used to offering a wide variety like we currently do. So, you know, that's really the interview process for them, is finding out what they're doing now, seeing how it fits into our roles. They do go through a criminal background check, and then in terms of a reference check, it's speaking to the school. And more often than not, we find that the school is like, yep, we love the cafeteria people, we love to have them stick around, and that's the extent of that vetting process. Really, the only time that it blocks it is on those rare occasions where we do have the school say, yeah, we haven't been as happy with this person, we'd prefer that you didn't invite them back. But generally, we retain 80 to 90% of current employees, and those 80 to 90% stay long-term. We went into Dover 4 years ago now, and out of the 32 employees that came on board, about 28 of them are still with us 4 years later. We went into Somersworth 10 years ago. I would say off the top of my head, and I opened that as food service director, that was about 90% decided to stay on board, and I would say off the top of my head about 60 to 65 are still there. 60 to 65% are still there 10 years later. Most of the ones that have left have been to retire.
How does your work year or whatever, are they 365 day? Because I see in here holiday and stuff like that. Are they 365 day employees? Are
No,
they?
so the food service director is based on 220 days a year. So the full 44 weeks of school, including vacations, holidays, all of that. The hourly employees are based on 180 days with 3 to 5 personal or holidays, depending on the number of hours that they work. Okay. Then everyone is eligible to work in our summer camp division, which we do have several locally. We have Camp Watauga right down the street here in Northwood. We work with Camp Fatima and Hidden Valley in Gilmanton, Bernadette up in Wolfboro. There's a few more relatively close. So our school year employees do have the opportunity to work in summer camps and work year-round if they would like to. And then also, too, all of our employees are eligible to collect unemployment during any of the downtimes, which is a little different than a school structure because just of the nature of the business we are.
So we have a point-of-sale system here where the kids have a PIN number and they come in, I don't know what the exact name of it is. Is that something that you guys will work with or
Yeah,
will replace? Or
we're proposing to continue working with NutriKids,
NutriKids,
which is what I think, yep.
is that what it is?
NutriKids, right. NutriKids, which is what you have in place right now. We actually work with about 7 different POS systems. NutriKids was one of the first that we started working with and one of the most widespread. Actually, when NutriKids started, they did nutritional analysis software, and we were a big user of that at that point. NutriKids was started by the Moriarty family in upstate New York, and at the time, Bill and Brian were such good customers that they were invited to be part of the focus group to create the POS system that you're using now. So we're very familiar with the
That's great.
system you're using now.
I haven't tried to do it in a while, but the POS system, if we stick with the same one, I know I tried it
I don't know if it was a year ago or whatever, but there was always this charge if you went on and used. Is
You
that
pay with
still
a
the
credit
same?
card, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, pretty much all of the online payment processing does come with that convenience fee, they tend to like to call it. And it is unfortunate, but it's a third-party vendor. We really don't have much to do with it. NutriKids in particular, along with several other cafeteria POS systems, was bought by a payment processing company called Heartland, specifically for getting those convenience payments, also to float on your deposits. So, yeah, it's really kind of an unavoidable thing with the online payments. What a lot of people do, myself included, is they'll sign up for that system, use it to kind of keep an eye on what their kids are purchasing, sign up for the low balance notification, so they'll get an email when there's a low balance, and then send in a check.
Yeah.
That's, my kids have been on, because we have Heartland in Dover, we use lunchtime there. And my kids have been on it for 4 years, and I've never paid Heartland a dime. I just use the system to see what's going on and then send in a check.
I always just assumed that Vi sent out the low balance thing, not the system.
It could be both.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
It could be both. Yeah, up until, I think, last year, you could only get low balance emails if you signed up for online payments. I think last year, NutriKids added on the feature of being able to send out low balance emails from the POS system. You used to not be able to do that. You used to only be able to print letters out of the POS system, but they added that feature on within the past year or so.
Chris, who's responsible for past due accounts and late payments for lunches?
Okay, so it actually brings up another good point that some of you may not know. I'll start with the fact that in terms of all the policies, all of that kind of stuff that govern your food service program, that is still all generated by the school board and the SAU. We don't come in and tell you how to run your program. We'll come in and say, these are best practices, these are what we would do, act as kind of a consultant with that, but when it comes to anything from wellness policy, what's being served in the CAF, how negative balances are handled, that is all still left to the school district to tell us how to do. So really, we work with our school districts to make sure you have a good charging negative balance policy in place, and then it's our responsibility to enforce that policy for you. So, you know, if it includes making phone calls or, you know, shutting kids off at a certain dollar amount or providing alternative meals, which may not be legal for much longer, any of those type of things, we follow through on that for you. Okay. Ultimately, any negative balances, any unpaid balances that are not collected are the financial responsibility of the school district. Okay. Again, that's more USDA regulation, that those are your financial responsibility that we don't take on for you, we can't take on for you. And then actually technically can't be paid out of your food service funds. They have to be paid out of your general funds.
Expand on that alternative lunch not being legal, you mentioned.
So I forget the exact RSA number, but going through the New Hampshire House and Senate right now is a proposal that would ban school districts from providing an alternative lunch to students who owe money to the cafeteria.
Thanks.
Yep. We could.
Current policy, I mean, that would happen right now, though. I mean, that hasn't
Yeah,
passed yet.
that would
so-
happen right now, and, you know, if that's your policy, we would follow that until something happens with the state legislature, and as we get that information, we would make you guys aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. But yeah, that was a quite interesting conversation. I actually had it last week with the USDA and a representative from the New Hampshire DOE, with a business administrator, about 15 to 20 minutes about the ins and outs of that particular law that they're trying to pass.
All right. This is any last questions? Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
I'll just hand out my cards to everybody.
Timeline is no problem for the start of the school year?
Not at all. In the proposal we have outlined, I believe it's a 5-week transition plan. We've done it in as short as 5 days. We really prefer not to do it in that short of a time frame, but that is possible.
Thank you.
Do you still do Kingston?
Yes, we do. That's Sanborn. I believe I mentioned that.
And if you are our choice, there's the catering procedures and stuff like that. Do you have like a brochure or something that you use for, like if the PTA wanted, like we do lunches and stuff like that? Like,
Yep.
is there,
Yeah,
like,
and in terms of that
costs?
stuff, there's a bunch of different tiers in terms of what we can do for that stuff. And it's all done as your food service program. So when you work with us for any catering pieces, it's not Cafe Services or Fresh Picks Cafe coming in, doing that catering and taking the money. It's Northwood Food Service Program doing your catering. And we can do anything from, actually, if you talk to Pittsfield, we do their food service program, does a nice high-end dinner for them every year where we rent real china and silverware and do all of that kind of stuff. We do everything from that to field days for, that the PTOs will sponsor. And usually what we'll try and do is work with the PTOs to make sure it's a reimbursable meal. So that way the PTO only has to pay the difference between the reimbursement and the normal meal price. Yeah, which saves PTOs a lot of money. So we do everything from that to, coffee and, I don't think they're doing donuts anymore, but Sanborn used to do coffee and donuts all the time. You can do them if you want. We're happy to do it.
With mom, donuts with dads.
Any of that kind of stuff. To even, we have places where we work with snack programs, after-school snack programs, where they don't want food service to provide the program, but will still purchase the food for that snack program at our cost to save them money.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So if our representatives from the Abbey Group are ready, feel free to step on up.
Come on up.
Everybody leaving, we're coming in?
That's right. Next.
Don't
take it personally.
Just have some materials for you. Thank you. I think I have enough for everyone.
You're gonna be standing and speaking?
Thank you.
Yeah. These out of the way, and bring this up to the normal height.
Sure. Barry do his job.
So I don't know if you want to do it with my hand or whatever, but it's on, so.
Okay, great.
Just gotta speak.
In any case, we are the Abbey Group, and we got some presenters here, Sherry, Nina, and Abby. And Nina is Account Development Manager, Director. Sherry is co-owner with myself. And Abby, we finally got her out of college, and she's our Marketing Director. So she's doing a great job for us. So we'll start off with, we know we don't have much time. Sherry's going to start off with...
Good evening, and thanks for having us in. We're excited to be here, and a chance offered to make a little pitch for our wonderful company that we have and run. We start by customizing a program with you folks. We like to get together with you and work through plans that you would like to see in your cafeteria and work with you on your menu development. We do have a basic plan for our menu that we have included here in your packet, but we do find that as we go into different areas and districts, maybe what works over here, they don't like it over there. So, we've learned to work with the school, and they know the students and what they would like to eat. And from there, we've learned that, a school hears a management company's coming in, and they're all nervous, and things will never be the same again, and it's not like that at all. We come in and build a wonderful relationship with the school. We want to keep it fun. We recently picked up a district, and the high school principal was all nervous. Oh my gosh, I normally do a cook-off, and you're going to take that away from me. I won't be able to do it anymore. And I said, cook-off? That sounds amazing. There's no reason to change all that fun in that community events that you have going. We just want to get involved and grow with that. It works, and we do it in many of schools. So after getting together and helping you create a plan and menus that are working for you, then there's obviously the other end of it is the whole supporting staff, that from your directors to the accountant piece. Our hub is up in Sheldon, Vermont. We're close to the Canadian border. We have a beautiful office right against the Missisquoi River background. We have 5 professional accountants that are always tending to all the accounting and the reporting and getting all the claim reimbursements ready for you folks. We have a fantastic reputation about getting back to you in a timely manner. A lot of schools we go into say, well, we have so-and-so, and they don't, we'll call, and it's 3-4 days later before we have an answer. And you guys seem to be right on the ball, so that's something we're proud of. Somebody answers our phone, you have a problem, you have questions, we have a team available to take care of all that for you. We have a great marketing department that Abby's heading up for us. She creates a lot of fun promotions, banners, anything that we need to make the cafeteria fun and to help the students get excited and want to support and eat and be involved with the program. We also have an ordering department and a wonderful corporate kitchen at our headquarters that they're always in there with new recipes and ideas because obviously you all know we've been through a lot of changes with menu. So we've learned to take time to get samples and test them, cook them up, share them with everybody, and see what seems to be the best way to go with the menu support. So that's fun for us. And then we move into whatever else we would need from the directors, working with you folks. We have a huge, wonderful support team of chefs that we move around and that could come and help tailor something, do some special days with you off the support team. So that's fun for us also. And then one thing that I'm very, very proud of is the time and effort that we put into picking the quality people that we want to place in your kitchen. And the success of the Abbey Group is our people. And so we just know how key that is to take the time and interview. And, we always try to hire within and work from there, and train and have everybody work on a plan that works with us. And customer service is a #1 key that we have. So we really spend time in that department to try to really bring quality people in and make a great team that works with everybody and makes everything the way that you would like it to be. Nina?
Thank you. Thanks, Sherry. Good evening, everybody. My name is Nina Hansen. I've been with the Abbey Group for 12 years. I'm in account development and also a food service director, so I am part of the boots on the ground, as Sherry described it, but I also have the advantage of working closely with head office. And one of the highlights of our program, as Sherry mentioned, is our reporting system and how quickly our response time is to assisting schools with whatever problem or situation comes up. To help us do that, we have a great state-of-the-art point-of-sale system that we use in our programs. It's called Meals Plus, and that's a web-based program that tracks all student activity on accounts. Parents can make online deposits. We can put parental controls on what the children are eating or spending. They can get low balance notification. And of course, the Meals Plus system is the cornerstone of having the information come from the schools to head office so we can prepare accurate reports for you. You all have a sample of our menu. We're very, very proud of that. We have wonderful options to offer the kids every day. There is the daily chef meal. We also have a build your own sandwich bar, so a deli bar, and we have an alternative meal, a yogurt meal that students who don't want a sandwich or the main meal can opt for a nice complete yogurt meal. And we talk about meals because we really have designed our program around a complete nutritional package for the students. So we really don't want them to just take a sandwich. We want them to take the sandwich, the fruit, the milk, everything that is included in the price of a meal. It's certainly better for the students nutritionally, and it's better for the program financially. So that is how we set up our menus. And finally, I just wanted to touch on the local piece that we are very, very proud of and is a priority in our programs. We work directly with farmers. We work with parent groups that are interested in bringing more farm to school. And And our menus are designed around a harvest of the month. So that is, you'll notice that one harvest item is focused on every single month, and there's a menu to accompany that, or a recipe, I should say, to accompany that on the menu. So there's some support at home. And that's just one item. But of course, all throughout the month, you'll still see many, many local seasonal food. Okay. Abby?
And just to complete that, really a real cornerstone of our program is the fact that we use a lot of homemade and from-scratch cooking and quality ingredients. We're using items like King Arthur flour for homemade doughs, and we like to try to aim for at least 15 out of a 21-day cycle menu to be completely made on site, and we're not pulling things from a bag and throwing them in the oven. That's just not what our programs are about. And we also offer a fresh fruit and veggie bar at all of our locations. So students who get any meal will have access to fresh fruit and veggies as much as they want as a part of their meal. And we found that with the new changes that happened in 2010, that was a real concern for parents, was, are my students getting enough to eat? So we address that full on. And we also offer a homemade soup every day that is a part of every meal that we offer. So we are making sure that as a part of a balanced meal, the students will have access to fresh fruit and veggies and the soup and whatever meal that they choose, all a part of the one price.
And nutritionally balanced as well.
And very nutritionally balanced, and we follow all of the USDA guidelines, and so they're getting additional nutrition based on, you know, however many additional veggies that they want to choose, but we follow all the guidelines and exceed those guidelines with our menus. And as you can see, we're offering unique items that they're not necessarily your everyday menu item. We try to appease to a whole wide range of tastes. So if they have certain students that like home-cooked meals, or people who are a little more adventurous, we're here to blanket everyone, to make sure everyone is getting a unique experience, at least sometimes during the month. And we're doing the Harvest of the Month. We do lots of different promotions to keep the dining experience interesting for students. We like to have fun in the kitchen, and that means we have staff coming out and doing taste tests. We do a lot of different events. We bring farmers into the kitchen, and for the students to be able to see. We really try to bring the whole community into the kitchen so the students can get a real flavor for what's in their area for food as well, and learn from that. We also do presentations for fourth graders in our Eat Smart, Play Hard presentation that we can give to students. So we want to bring that kind of nutritional education into the classroom as well.
And we're very community-oriented, and we know that a school is the hub of a community. And we have learned to enjoy and embrace the community. We're here to support. We do fundraisers. We help teachers with fun menu journeys. It might go with history class. We can cater any event from 2 people. We actually did the Grateful Dead once, 100,000 people. So we have a huge variety of things that we can do for you folks in any manner. We love to invite the families in. We're big on the holidays. We've seen our Christmas dinners at some of our schools. They've asked us to even break them up between 2 days because everybody's coming and it's just too hectic for the schools. So we just want, you know, it's hard. We know how nervous everybody gets and that big fear of the management companies coming in. We're regular folks. I'm a mom, dad, parents. We look forward to making the experience of dining for the hot lunch program fun. Our company averages around 68%, which is amazing and very successful. And I think we do that with warm, wonderful employees that reach out. We always try to get our people from the local community, our staff, and train them and just work together. And it's really just embellished who we are as a company. And we just love it. We come from a small town, and we know what community is all about. It's the heart of the town. And the school is definitely the hub of that. So we're always willing and welcome to work with you folks if you would need anything from us. We also, like I said, in the catering end of the business, we can do anything for you that you could possibly want or need. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
have any questions.
Questions from the board?
Any schools around here? Where's the nearest school if I wanted to go try your food?
Well, you can go to Hinsdale, you can go to the Groveton schools, Colebrook schools, you can go to Fall Mountain District, that's 9 schools there.
I wasn't ready for that one.
Yeah.
So you're,
But his
you're
goal
mostly up
first
on the, near the Vermont border.
Well, we got several schools along the Connecticut River Valley.
Yeah.
We've had Hinsdale for 12, 13 years now.
We do encourage you to make the trek, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. I'm not sure if you've got to go to any of the other schools, but we do encourage you to visit ours because we offer really great programs.
It'll be worth the trip.
Oh, Hinsdale and Colebrook.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yep,
Groveton.
Groveton.
Yeah,
Groveton.
Patty up at Groveton.
Patty Brown's the
Yeah.
business manager for the Groveton School District.
Jamie would be.
Patty Brown.
Yeah.
Patty Brown.
Jamie would be with.
Jamie
Paul
Tague with Fall Mountain School District.
So nothing like east of the Merrimack River.
East of the Merrimack River, no.
Road trip? Yes, halfway.
We are in 3 states. We're a New England company. We currently employ around, it's over 400 employees. We moved one in New York, college in New York, and then we have, 25 accounts in New Hampshire, right in that ballpark, and then about 85 cafeterias in Vermont. So we're very well equipped with a fantastic team to come in and do an amazing job for you. And we would be honored if you would accept us in, because that would get us down to this area so we could show everybody how amazing we are.
Exactly.
And think about this. You definitely won't be overlooked if we're in this area. We're going to do everything we can to make this a preeminent location for us.
So did I hear that you would make an effort to hire maybe the local
Oh,
staff
absolutely.
we have now?
Absolutely.
Really-
And we just, I don't know if you guys know where Middlebury, Vermont is, but we just took over that whole school district, not the college, the K through 12, and from another company. And you call them to see how they like us after our first year. I think it'll pop your eyes open.
Have you had a chance to look at our CAF
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
We did go through it.
How much additional work will you need to put into?
I think all the basic elements were there.
Yeah, we might need a few items, but.
If it needs anything, we'd have to go through a relook. But, right now, in our notes from 2 years ago, I didn't see anything outstanding that we'd have to go after.
Steam tables seem to be one item. Is that something you need?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're always helpful, yes.
It might have been
Hot
there,
food,
we might have
hot food.
assumed it was working.
How much is a steam table?
What's that?
How much is a steam table?
Oh,
2,500?
they're not, it's not that much. It depends if it's electric
Oh,
or
we're getting
gas.
some free ones. We work with schools when they're changing their kitchens over. And we got 2 front lines that we just recently picked up from City School.
We
that,
did.
We
Might be
worked in
available
great, if anybody would be interested in that, in great, from one school to the other, at no charge. It's here it is. They gave it to us and we could help you out. We do try to help districts out with situations like that. But one thing we try to do, like I was talking about fun, like just quickly back to Middlebury, they were so sad and they were so discouraged with their program and what could we possibly do? So we went in and we went in the cafeteria and we made a kiosk and we took and spread the program around the room and we just made it so much more inviting and we look for that.
Accessible,
Yeah, we, as a design team comes in and says, okay, what space do we have? Would you allow us to do this? And then the kids come in, it's like, wow, where are we? We can't believe this.
Something new and
Yeah,
exciting.
Exactly,
Yes.
and it's just so fun, and everybody gets excited, and it's such a positive experience. That's how we see it, rewarding and fun.
Yeah, if the school is embracing the change,
Oh, yeah, I can soar.
we
So you're in
we can
Middlebury?
fly with you
Yeah.
and
what's our
put out
principal's
as
name?
much
We work
as you
there all
want
the
to put
time.
out.
Bill? No.
Mr. Lawson?
Mr. Lawson.
Mr. Bill Lawson,
Yeah.
yeah.
He would be a great one to talk to, and it's just fun to see what you can possibly do, and we just enjoy what we do, so it's fun for us to come in and get the students exciting and to support the program, and everybody wins, the success of all of us working together.
It really is a team effort. We go
Right.
in, we'll make a fun cafeteria, we have obviously the signage and the uniforms, and we'll do a big harvest dinner at the beginning of the year and invite parents. And again, this is all making sure we get the school on board with our mission, because that's how these programs work, is everyone has to be on board. You want the students eating, we're gonna work with you on your wants. We obviously have what we think works best, and we're gonna try to incorporate as much of that into the program, but the idea is get the kids excited about eating in the cafeteria again, because that can be lost, unfortunately, and it's about regenerating that excitement for the students and keeping it there.
And Sherry mentioned earlier that our company's participation rate, take all our schools, over 100 schools,
Including high schools.
including the high schools, 68% participation. And we can show you all the reports that'll support that.
So I was wondering what that meant. You mean 68% of the people in the school?
68 kids out of every 100 are going through our food service program.
That's interesting.
Go ahead.
A lot of people don't even know what that number is. We throw it out.
And they're like, what are you talking about?
I should explain that a little more, but that's what it means. It's national average is around 52%.
52%, something like that.
State average just about mirrors that. But you take our schools out of Vermont, that plummets to around 47%. Put them back in, it goes up to around 55%. So we're very proud of what we've got, and we get in and we really work at it. We don't. If this isn't working,
Try this.
try this. If this isn't
Let's have a
working,
meeting,
try
let's
this.
get together, let's get the students together. What are they looking for? What can we do to make this work? So the more involvement we all have together as a team, best results.
Best program we can possibly have.
And a lot of programs are set up with à la carte sales, which is, quite frankly, it's not the whole nutritional experience. And we stay away from that. The à la carte we sell is the nutritional stuff. It's apples, oranges, bananas, milk. We have some smart snacks.
We do have smart snacks, yes, we do. And, but, you know, as Dave said, having that complete nutritional package, it is the best for the students and it's the best for the program.
We work hard at breakfast programs.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to sometimes if, hey, let's try it, if they're not coming in, can we set in the hallway? No, that's not gonna work. Can we get it to the classroom? What can we do to get that student to have breakfast?
We do bag
So-
breakfasts,
And
you
get
know,
them up to
for
the
the,
rooms, whatever we can possibly do.
Did you have a question?
I do have a couple of questions.
Sorry.
What is the regional food service director?
We included the a
Resume.
resume for an interim director to get things going in this area. His name's Scott Schwanier, and he is one of the best, top members of our company, and part of his role is to get into new locations and use all of his expertise to get things running smoothly.
it's another layer of oversight that you're gonna have. Even though we anchor a site supervisor here, and a site director, somebody else that comes in and does the quality control to make sure everything is happening the way it should happen. And if you're having a hole in a program somewhere, like this isn't working well, we focus on that, and that's part of his job.
So that's not a one-time thing, that's an every year, if we renewed, that would be.
Oh, yeah.
That's part of it.
All the
Always.
time,
Yeah.
all the time, yeah.
The other question I had was, on the cost information, the equipment lease expense. So any equipment that you bring in, we're leasing, we're not buying?
I'm not sure, is it on the computer piece? Because we were just gonna put that in.
It just says expenses and revenue and expenses.
Oh, I don't think yours has that, yeah.
Oh, here, this is the
Oh, the updated one.
financial documents.
We drop in a new piece of equipment.
Oh, I might have it
It's
in here.
it's amortized, it's
Okay.
amortized over the life of the.
But I don't,
Okay.
and you would own that.
And you won't.
Anything that you know, we get involved in, you own.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is it,
Right.
for expenses. I mean,
You guys all wanted to look how this works. It's your sales, your breakfast sales, the reimbursements. It's quite simple, and the breakfast reimbursements, and the state match we're expecting, and then it puts a total of the total revenue we're expecting to yield. And then if you flip it over, it's got all the projected expenses and what we're planning on spending for the labor, and then any other expenses. And where it says computer, I believe that's the support structure, but any computers or you would own all of that. We just place them in here and there. You own it.
But this is it.
And that, and the bottom line in parentheses would be what subsidy would be required.
So we'd be required to use your computer
You
even if we
don't
had one?
have to.
Yeah, you don't have.
You don't have to, but we find it's great. It's a beautiful system. I think you guys would love it, and the parents just adore that
Yeah.
program.
It's very popular,
So
and it's very user-friendly, and we found a lot of people who were hesitant about it really embraced it once they finally get the system and realize what kinds of reports and all the great things that the parents get to do online for free and all the great benefits of the program. It's a really important part of the program, I think.
So can parents pay online
Yes.
as well? Are there additional fees with that?
It's
other
just like a
services?
normal credit card fee, basically. I mean, and it's nothing we can control. It's just an online fee. I think it's
$1.95.
$1.95
Per transaction.
per transaction, so
Up
if
to
you,
$100.
if you, oh, I thought it was.
No, it's endless now.
It's
Oh, it's endless
unlimited.
If you want to put $1,000 on the account, you
Yeah.
couldn't, it cost you $1.95.
Cost you $1.95.
It's whatever, yeah.
So-
That one.
But other than that, you could go online and see your child's history, all free of cost, free of
Right.
cost.
As soon as
Low
you get
balance
breakfast, if she's having
notification.
lunch. Yes, yep.
That transaction fee does not come to us.
Right.
No.
We don't have,
to a
unfortunately, we
company
don't
down
have
in North
anything
Carolina.
to do with that.
Right, but we did work out a deal with them that everything was free for the parents as far as the viewing and getting set up. And we still can accept money at the site. We have some schools worry about that. Of course, we still can. But it's amazing. It doesn't take long, and those parents have that at them. They can even get alerts, I believe, on their cell phone if they want to set the whole package
Yeah.
up. That Johnny's, getting low, he's only got $2 in his account. So Dad will know, or Mom to send in whatever they want to do. It's up to them.
And we're there for all parents. We get calls from parents
Yes.
all the time, just like for support help. We are great at support for this particular program. We are very knowledgeable and are very helpful for anyone who calls in, parents or administrative.
Sorry.
Anybody else have a
So,
question
I was
first?
just- Okay,
Well,
sorry.
I do. On the food service director, and I'm just like, I like what you're presenting, but there's no one really close to us. So how would the food service director, if we need that person, I mean, yeah, we could phone call, but if we need him here, I mean, how?
Need him here, he's there today.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just
That's
said,
how it works.
I mean, I'm looking at Colebrook is 2 hours away, Hinsdale is 2 hours away.
I thought Hinsdale was closer.
That's over by the Vermont border, down by, past Keene. So, I mean, it just, yeah, maybe if you get back to us, if you guys don't know of one closer to us, I just a little skeptical,
So so obviously the person who's anchored in the account is chosen very carefully and is going to be somebody a very strong manager on site who is then supported by somebody else. So, and we are only 3 hours away and we have made that dash many times. And there are people that are closer that might have whatever emergency, I'm thinking it might be an emergency situation that
Is it you're
you're
worried
worried
about?
about.
Well, I
or-
just I mean, are you spreading yourself too thin? So far away, I mean, it seems like coming all the way here to Northwood compared to, there's so many
Let me tell you about being
towns.
spread too thin. There is no one that has directors in the field like we
At
do.
the level that
And I'm
we
talking
do.
about Sodexo's, Airmarks, the cafe services. We've got a director for every 6 or 7 schools. I mean, that's it.
It's really
There is
tight.
nobody's portfolio that has that. This is an extra layer of support that you've got. And believe me, my directors are in the field every day. And we've got, holding this down the road, got the road that way, I guess. We lost our our kitchen manager, chef supervisor, and we swept somebody in from 2 hours away, and he's finishing up the end of the year. We'll replace that situation. But that's how we work. There isn't one account, you go through any one of our accounts,
That's
there's
ever
not one account
left
that
alone.
will ever tell you, we left them high and dry, ever.
Yeah, that's not what we do.
And believe me, when you're on the Canadian border, to have stretched to about 110 accounts, from one end of Vermont to the other end of New Hampshire, to the northern end of New Hampshire, that didn't happen by itself. That happened because we were out there supporting our accounts.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
And we do, I think, if you look at the wages, I think we do pay a little more than our competition. I don't know for sure, I didn't have your,
Generally, that's how it lands.
normally, when we go and compare things. And, you know, we've got some, I think, some really decent wages here to help attract some great quality people. And we always keep a sub too or two, you know, around. So, you know, you've got your site manager, and then maybe Susie, you know, the assistant isn't gonna make it into work, and then we keep subs on the list. I mean, you're always, that director that maybe that's not right on the site that minute is constant contact with that manager. They're letting them know, hey, this is gonna unfold, what do you want me to do? This is how you're gonna move forward, we've got somebody coming down, you know, don't worry, you can't find anybody, we'll take and dispatch Susie from Hinsdale and send her down to help you today. We totally always make sure that we're staffed and ready to go, so. We make it work, it's fun, works out great.
Yeah.
Any last questions from anyone on the board? Bob? You good? Did you have something, Barb?
You got one there.
I do, I had one, but I forgot what it
You
was.
were showing, you had something on the bottom, maybe, right here, I saw you looking at it, right, was it here?
Oh, yes,
Okay.
thank you. Sorry.
Same thing to me at home.
I was
know
just
what you're
wondering
thinking.
with, I mean, I know it's not a lot, it's $350, but we just spent how much money last year or 2 years ago buying the laundry, the washer and dryer, the stackable things in there? So is this mostly just buying the new uniforms?
Yes, I'm getting everybody
Okay.
set up.
Okay.
We like to make sure they all have some to get going with, and then we'll help, you know, support that throughout the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and, yeah.
All right, well, thank you very much
Well,
for
you're
coming.
very
We
welcome.
appreciate it.
Yes,
Thank you
Nice
so
to
much.
come down.
And hopefully
Thank you
choose
very much
us,
for
but if
having
you
us.
don't, I
Thank you very
hope you have a very successful journey.
Thank you so
With
much.
whoever you go with.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Safe
you very
drive
much.
back.
It'll be really successful if you come with us.
Hey, we've seen a few good restaurants up the road. We're gonna be just fine.
There you go, awesome.
Anybody like a break or just
Thank you, everybody.
charge on?
Break?
Break? Break, all right, let's do, ready?
5 minutes, not even?
5 minutes, yeah.
Insofar as taking the kitchen, outsourcing it and whatever, I do have a few concerns. I want to hand you an article that was in Foster's about 3 weeks ago, just so that you can take a look at it, which explains my concern. The highlighted section pretty much gives it to you. Basically, the superintendent in Farmington was cited by the Employee Labor Relations Board for outsourcing the cafeteria program. It was in violation of New Hampshire labor laws.
Which we are not.
Excuse me, may I finish? Thank you. According to this article, he was cited as violating New Hampshire labor laws when they outsourced and privatized the private services in the district. The decision to privatize services meant that Farmington food service employees would have had their wages cut and the loss of their current benefits, including sick and participation in the health care plan in the New Hampshire retirement system. That was the situation here. I understand that you did, in fact, or the town passed a new contract for the support staff, which did eliminate the cafeteria workers from the union. In effect, they have received their pink slips. They're done because the contract doesn't have them any longer. So that's one concern. Number two, I quite honestly don't see what the purpose is in outsourcing the cafeteria program. Everything I've heard tonight doesn't seem to indicate you're going to be saving money. It appears as though, again, we're not privy to the figures that you folks are looking at, but based on what I've heard, I don't see that there's going to be any kind of a savings. You still have to pay someone to do all of the paperwork for the free and reduced lunches. You still have to pay people to do the things that they can't do. I think you're making a mistake to privatize it, and I wanted that known. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else from the public like to speak?
Linda Royer, I'm speaking as an employee of Northwood School. Can you hear me? Yeah. I want to read something to you that someone shared with me this morning that I found very disappointing and it made me sad. Letter to the editor. To the editor. Sadly, another principal is leaving. This one was making some progress. She received absolutely no support from the Northwood School Board and was attacked repeatedly. Mentoring? Awful at best. Where to from here? It will be the same basic people doing the same basic search. More grist from the mill. So what is it going to take to provide a better than subpar education? Some say a curriculum director, an athletic director, a math specialist, a social worker, another academic paraprofessional for each first grade class, and of course, all-day kindergarten, needing another teacher with para. What's that? Another $700,000? What drives all these needs? Keep in mind that the new SAU hasn't made a difference. How could it? The superintendent has publicly stated that he has no time to drive curriculum, nor has he the time to be in our schools. We were told that an electronic smartboard in every class and an impressive array of computers would help. They haven't. We have the smallest class sizes around. Hasn't helped. We are spending almost $20,000 per child. Not enough. Every single person in our subpar school got a raise. Again, not enough. Every single SAU person got a raise, despite a horrible budget season. Not enough. And yet, we'll continue to do the same old thing, and Northwood students will receive the same old results. A crappy education. Tim Janderber, Northwood. Time and time again, the school board has asked for these letters to stop. Time and time again, they're published. I proudly wear my Northwood school badge. I walk in the door every single day. I don't believe that the students that I work with get a subpar education, nor do I believe that the students in the classrooms that I go into get a subpar education. This needs to stop. We have worked so hard to present our school positively to the Northwood community. This does so much damage. Please find a way to have it stop. Thank you.
Any other public comment first? Mr. Ruth.
Dave Ruth. Yeah, I would be speaking as a public person who's had children come through this school, that it would be a much better idea to have a professional food service company to service our children. We will have a better product, we will save money, and you will have a more participation because you will see the difference in the quality. You hiring a company that has dietitians, that has our research and development, that they work on a lot of these different things we can't do. You have government regulations that change in the last 7 or 8 years almost daily. So you have to be aware of all those things going on. What you will have to spend a little bit more on, but it will be out of the savings you are getting. It won't really cost you anymore to have to take care of some of that bookwork. So I think it is over the years we've studied it, it really is a better solution for the children in Northwood.
Hi, my name is Lee Cronin. I'm speaking as a 5th grade teacher here at Northwood School. When Karen Brieger had her last school board meeting, she was great at saying there were different opportunities, and as a board to hear the positive things as well as some of the concerns. And ever since the new board has met, I really feel as a member of the school, you want to hear what's taking place, both good and some concerns. And I'm sparked by this. By Friday, we had a professional development day here at this school, and I was part of the new Go Math training session. And in a few minutes, I'd just like to say all the bells and whistles that you bought as a new program that are fantastic. I'm just going to step back a little bit. For the new board members, just to let you know that in 2015-16, last year, a math committee had been formed. There was 11 of us, 9 teachers, and then the principal and the math specialist, and we got together and we had 2 different tests. One to look at a program. The 7th and 8th grade needed a program and there were monies available. And our second task was to actually compare for K through 6 the current program and visions that we are using to the new math programs. As a committee, we found that there were 2 K through 8 seamless programs that are available to buy. There were 2. And out of those 2, the committee decided what best met 7th and 8th grade needs was Go Math. They have their device, the 7th and 8th grade students have one-to-one devices. The program, as I learned on Friday, they have tutorials, they have videos, they have so many programs that children and parents can have access to online. As we know from 7th and 8th grade and now from the workshop, the tangible, the workbook is a consumable only. The math committee, again, last year decided the Go Math 7th and 8th, but it was decided at that committee, there were 9 out of 11 of us that said, you know what, our school is not ready for an online math program. That was what the recommendation was from, as I heard somebody else with the boots on the ground, our recommendation.
Let's go to finish up soon.
As 2016 came, the Go Math program was now funded for K through 6. And speaking on behalf of 4th and 5th grade teachers, there is a true concern that we're not ready with an online program. I brought down the one cart, the mobile cart, that we need to move from class to class. And just to make you aware that there is a concern with about 120 students with one mobile cart to get our lessons through the Go Math program. So I just want to share that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I've decided I'll wait.
Anyone from the board like to say a few words?
I guess I would, and I promised myself I wouldn't participate in comments, but I would certainly like someone to look into. I listened carefully, but I'd still like someone to look into what Ms. Cronin is saying and come back to us with, I mean, she has addressed some concerns that I think we should.
Well, and I was just wondering, because there's an, sorry.
You can have your turn after he's done.
So, I mean, I just, that's the first I've heard of it. So I'm concerned, and I would like somebody to come back to us with some more information, please.
Would you like to have a?
Well, I was just gonna say, in there's like 116 netbooks or something that we just bought. What was that? So, can I just look at this real quick because I looked at that and I was like, yeah, there's 116 number of units, Acer netbooks for $3,567, and then they'd already received a payment. Oh, sorry, this was the insurance coverage. I just looked at that part of it. Okay.
Any other comments from the board?
I'd just like to say one more thing too, is that this is part of the reason that I have asked for Mr. Robert to come in and give us an update on what's going on with the electronics in the school.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve the minutes of May 19th.
Second.
Any discussion?
Couple. 9147. Just a second.
4.
Okay, thank you. Have not progressed. I think the progressed just needs to be progressed in ED. Okay.
Other corrections?
I had a couple. Is OPINED, is that a word? Opined? What does it mean?
It's to give an opinion.
Okay. On 392, the panels in the gym. Is that the panel in the gym or the panels in the lobby? Are we hanging panels in the gym?
I thought it was for the theater part of it, but were they getting panels or something? I don't know.
Are there some panels for the facilities?
392.
I'm sorry, I was writing some
The only
notes.
panels that we've talked about in, the gym.
To get on stage, right? Wasn't there?
The panels, is it the only panels that we talked about facilities-wise is in the cafeteria?
Right.
Oh, so.
And that was the proposal that came out a little while ago for the $8,500 or something, whatever it was.
Well, and I didn't know if the panels were the panels,
Or is this
the glass
right.
panels that they were talking about. That's what I was thinking that it was. Let me just get down to that.
No, we already paid all that. We saw that was like $3,000. That's all taken
All it
care
says
of.
is Ms. Dupre said the panels in the gym are in the process of being installed. She will let the board members know once installed. I think that was the
mats?
Art. Is it the mat or the art?
Artist in residence.
artist in residence, yeah, the
Okay.
glass.
Yeah,
I
seems to
think
me that
that's
has
what it
to be
was.
the
And I
artist in
think it's the
residence.
lobby.
Right, in the lobby, not the cafeteria or the gym. Or the atrium.
So if you just put art panels,
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
And board discussed. Yeah, well, one of the, one of the policies that was, it's the wrong, maybe it's the GCE one. Talking to Scott today. It's just the wrong, personnel records. GBJ, GBR, GCE. Two other policies, just, I guess that's not, I'll have to look at it.
I have a bunch.
Okay.
Line 104. At the end of that line, the sentence starts, also identify a group of students. I don't know what that sentence is supposed to mean. It's not a complete sentence, so I'm not really sure what we were going for there.
Which one? 104?
Line 105.
Yeah, it starts on line 104, but it's mostly on 105.
So it's just saying that identifies students that don't have a learning disability, but just struggle with comprehension.
So also, she identified a group of students?
I think so.
You think? Okay, that would make more sense. Line 124, in the middle, Ms. Nice said yes in certain areas. That should be plural. Also in that line, Bree Gunter asked what is the average amount of time? And then on the next page, in line 150, the sentence that starts, freed up additional adults, that's not a complete sentence, so I don't know what that is going for either.
Does it make sense?
Nope, it doesn't.
I bet if you figured it out, it would.
I feel like there's something that
I
needs
think
to go
as she had
before
said,
that.
we were able to free up additional
that
adults
would
so that
help.
the groups could be smaller, and that
Okay.
itself was a collaboration that needed to happen.
I think I have one more. Line 509. Chairman McGuigan Phelps, it is everyone's problem. You're just missing a quotation mark for wherever the beginning of his quote is.
Actually, you can just get rid of that, I think.
You're gonna get rid of that instead?
The quote mark, it's not a quote.
Well, yeah, there's a quote mark in the line before that, which is why I think
Yep.
I said it that way, so. Either put one in or take one out. I think that's it.
I have more if nobody else does. On 508, since we're down there, it just says we don't have a problem and it's not our problem to fix. I believe what I said is that we don't have a problem, the bus company has the problem. It's not our problem to fix because we're paying the company for a service. And then on 426, I don't know if it matters, but didn't we do the paraprofessional nominations after we came out of non-public?
We did.
Does it matter that it's up in that part? Because it looks like, if you look at the minutes, it looks like we came out of non-public at 9:20 whatever, and then a minute later we adjourned. But we did take that vote, so I didn't know.
Well, just based on my experience.
It's okay to-
I can put that under exactly where it took place, except that you're in non-public, and then you're putting in the exact information that was discussed in non-public.
No, but,
It kind of makes it obvious.
Well, we had said anyways that we would discuss it in non-public
Yeah,
when we
but-
talked about it.
But that,
so-
that's
okay.
fine, I mean, if
Yeah.
that's what
Okay.
if you want it to be in the sequence of the meeting, I can continue to do that.
I'd be okay with that, I
Yeah.
think.
Or you could put
I
a
just didn't
line
know
in
if it
there, this,
matters.
this motion followed the non-public session.
And leave it where it is.
What's in the same place in the agenda?
Either way.
Makes sense too, I guess.
Either way.
I just wasn't sure, because I was looking for it at the end and I was like, where is it?
Yeah.
Well, and I had it at the end, but
Yeah, right, no, it makes sense, I understand that, yeah. The thing is, I mean, we're in public, I mean, anything we're doing,
I know,
is-
I felt the same way.
yeah.
And then on line 447, should the name of the student be in the minutes?
What line is it?
447.
I thought in this case it wasn't detrimental, but.
Right, but I didn't know,
It's a public document, it's a public request, so.
That's
okay.
Right.
I just wasn't sure.
I mean, the letter
What
came
we
to the
had.
board for
Okay.
The letter
request, so
was
it's a
part of
public
the
document, so.
Right.
Okay.
Right, you'd have to produce it for us, right? Any other comments? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, motion passes. Moving on to the principal's report.
So you're gonna have to bear with me a little bit, this is new to me. So you have two things, one was the principal's report that was submitted with your packet, and then I also provided you with some verbals that I'll just go over quickly. So the one that was included in your packet, a lot of those items were about field trips and different things that are going on in our classrooms. There's lots of great things going on during the end of the year. We had a first grade field trip that was canceled due to for safety reasons. So we thank Dr. Villamsky for working with us and ensuring the safety of our students. The first graders had what they called the best day of the year. Back at school with an in-school field trip. The first grade teachers were notified at 6:30 in the morning and did an awesome job from 6:30 to 7:30 when the students arrived, pulling things together and getting a great on-site field trip for them. So we were really excited about that. And then there's also other things in there, third grade doing owl pellets this week. Second grade traveled to Holderness to Squam Lake. I was able to attend that. That was a great field trip for them and hoping something that they will continue. And our kindergartners have 14 baby chicks that they were excited to talk about, and they're hoping to have their tadpoles, so they're learning all about life cycles of different animals. The second report that you have, our valedictorian and salutatorian have been identified for our 8th grade class, for the class of 2016. Valedictorian Benjamin Brieger and salutatorian Catherine Blake, both students who have worked extremely hard through their entire career at Northwood, both academically and they're both involved in extracurricular activities, so congratulations to both of them. They have been notified and their families have been notified as well. Our class marshals for 7th grade for the class of 2017 have also been identified. Brenna Roy and Porter Higas, again, both strong academic students, and again, they're both very involved in extracurricular activities, so we congratulate both of them and their families. 8th grade Washington, D.C. trip have arrived, as far as I know, in Washington, D.C. I was getting different messages throughout the day, and you can see in your report that Ms. Desprez was writing this as she was traveling with the group. They departed this morning at 5:30, and everything is going smoothly. 44 of our 8th grade students and 8 chaperones are on that trip. She also just mentioned about the CPR and first aid certification and all the chaperones being involved in that. On yesterday, June 1st, our Title I had their summer celebration. 12 students and families were involved in that, and they completed a survey with positive comments about how the Title I program is supporting our students and doing great things. So thank you to Mrs. Gagné and Mrs. Khan for their commitment to our Title I program. I do have a check from Target for $48.02. It's the final check from them. We would just look for the board's approval to accept that check tonight.
Move to approve.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And on May 27th, we had a few different trainings going on. As Ms. Cronin mentioned, our 4 to 6 grades, our teachers in grades 4 to 6, participated in a full-day math training. There were lots of things involved in that, and our 7th and 8th grade teachers will be having a full training for Go Math on June 16th. Along with that training on June 16th, we'll also have a full-day training scheduled for teachers in grades K through 5 for our new reading program, Wonders. And that will be ongoing PD that we've talked about before that will go into next year, but that will be the first training. Building and grounds from Mr. Tom. He is hoping to hang up the new championship banners this week in the gym. We have begun to hang the artwork that was created during the artist in residence. You can see that out in the lobby as we discussed. He's hoping to have a quote from TML Mechanical within the next week for the work in the cafeteria. He's scheduled screening for the gym floor for this summer, and the bleacher inspection has been scheduled for July. Mr. Robert is traveling with our 8th grade class, so there's not much for him to report, but we are finalizing makeups for Smarter Balance and for NEWA. You'll notice I'm not going to read through all of them, but Ms. Clemens has organized a youth financial incentives for her 7th grade math class. So there's many companies there, as well as community members, who have donated items for her auction. I went in there the other day, and the students were tallying up all of their checkbooks and making sure they knew exactly what they had for money. I discussed with one student why they had deductions from there, what kind of behaviors there were, and where they got bonuses for different academic reasons. So thank you to all of those companies and community members who have supported that program. That auction will be tomorrow. And then you can see the end of year happenings at the bottom of the page. Field Day and K-8 Step Up Day is on June 9th with a rain date of the 13th. That is, the rain date is due to the preschool graduation on the 10th. And there are other activities on there that for the end of year as well. I won't read over all of those.
Right.
Questions?
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Superintendent's report.
All right, in front of you, you have a personnel report that I handed out for Joanne Alberg, and that's for 4th grade teaching position for next year. If you remember, there was one open position. We had that posted, did a number of interviews, and Joanne is the nomination.
Motion to nominate or hire Joanne Alberg, 4th grade teacher.
Second. Any discussion? What is step OB?
0B.
0B.
0 bachelors.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to say she's done a great job. My son's in that class. She's done a fantastic job taking over when Miss Richardson left, so kudos to her.
Is she working on her bachelor's? Is that the reason why?
She's got a bachelor's degree, so it's step 0 on the bachelor's degree.
Okay, gotcha.
0 out of how many?
It starts at 0, goes to, I can't remember.
13, I believe.
Is it
Yeah, I think
13 or
it's 13 or
14? Didn't we add the
14.
14th step or the 13th step in the new contract?
Gotcha. I was like, there was like 0 bachelor's.
But
I'm
that's
like,
where she
should get a
starts
job.
because they have to
Qualified.
Oh, shit.
So she's right out of school
Right.
then? Okay.
Is she right out?
If you remember, anybody we hire has to back up a number of steps because contracts weren't passed for a couple of years, so that has to be factored in as well.
I believe the language is that we just can't hire somebody and put them in a higher step than somebody
Correct.
else who has equivalent, no, years of experience, right?
Right.
So as time goes on, we can hire at the lower levels, at the regular steps. Yes?
If somebody comes in with no experience, they would be on the bottom step. If they came in 2 years up with 2 years' experience, they would still be at the bottom step.
Does the contract actually say that, though?
It does.
I thought the contract said just that you couldn't hire somebody at a higher level than somebody
With
who's
the
already
same,
employed with
with the
level of
same experience, that's
So
what
if we
they
don't
would
have nobody in the school, that, is that step 2? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, as time goes on, the people who did not increase in these steps are gonna be
Right.
moving up and up the scale,
Yep.
right? So at the bottom of the scale, we should be
We
able to
just look
hire-
at the same people on the same step with the same experience, and that's how we do that.
Right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thank you.
Okay, the strategic planning update, we're in the process of having an RFP. I've already called the New Hampshire NHSAA to get some names of consultants. We'll get those to you as well. We're trying to get you a tentative cost so you can further consider that. So that'll be coming back to you in the near future. On page 18, you've got a draft of a lease. There was a question at the last board meeting whether there was a lease in place. There hasn't been for a number of years. This mirrors the payment that they've been under for the last few years. So if you would like to have that in place, you can see what it is. This mirrors the lease agreement that we've got in place for Nottingham for the same situation. So if that's something you would like to do, we can bring that back for final approval at the next meeting.
Final approval, yeah, because there was a couple of things that I noticed in there that
Yeah, this
weren't-
is a draft, and
Okay.
so,
Do you want to bring that up now, then, so we can make note of it?
Well, I
and
just
bring it
noticed,
back?
like, in section 2, the term lease, it says 1 year, but it's August to June.
section 2.
I think it was 2, I have 2.
Yeah, well, because they don't have.
That's the school year.
Yeah, this is the school year.
Right.
August to June.
Well, that doesn't say that, though, it just says a year.
A
So,
school
but then it
year?
talks about summer program also in there.
Okay.
So that's why I was confused. And I don't know anything about them, so in section 10, it says something about being a nonprofit. Are they a nonprofit?
I don't think they are.
That's what I didn't think so. I thought they were like a for-profit, but it says, in section 10, it says something about them being a nonprofit, or they have
That
to.
does.
So,
Okay, I'll check that.
okay. Those are
Can
my two
somebody
things.
explain who these people are exactly?
I can. So, my son and daughters have been, well, son and daughters, yeah, I have one daughter. Son and daughter have been going to them for years, ever since kindergarten and out. My daughter still goes, my son's old enough now. They are a program right after school until about 6 o'clock at night, for those parents that can't pick up their kids, and they have no one at home to watch. It's a great program. Kim's been doing it for a long time. There's been some rough patches over the years with some people that would, being, the caretakers, whatever you want to call them. But overall, I give it's a good program.
So it's an
just
after-school program?
After-school
Like
program.
a latchkey program? Do they still call it that?
No, they don't. No,
I don't know.
No, they don't call it that. But it's very helpful for working families, and they get to play with their other kids in their class, And it's not like the kids are hanging out with 7th or 8th graders, because those are kids that are staying home. I think, in the highest grade you might have is a 5th grader. They'll be in there, and they go outside during this, and they'll play outside, and they're always playing in the cafeteria, playing the kickball or stuff like that, or Tom will tell them no. But overall, it's a good program. It's just that they've always operated without a lease, and they need to start following some protocols that are mandated by the school, and I think this is one reason why the lease program's coming up.
Is everybody comfortable with these edits, and we'll just bring it back at the next meeting for final approval? That work? I'm guessing so. I was yelling.
And just for information, the totals that we've received from them in the last 2 years, it was $1,100 for the 14-15 year for revenue for us, and for this year, it's $1,200 with obviously June left, so just to give you an idea of what
Is that in our revenue report on what we get?
it comes in as unanticipated revenue.
Okay.
And is that based on, that was one of my questions I didn't write down, is that based on what the rate is?
Yes.
In their current, in the
Yes.
lease currently?
Yes,
Okay.
it mirrors what we're actually doing.
So in talking to them, they have no problem signing the lease, as far as you know?
I wouldn't, this is very close to what we have down in Nottingham right now, so it shouldn't be a big deal. And that's all I had under my report.
Okay. Would you like to talk about the adequacy site?
Sure. The state of New Hampshire is the DOE is having a couple of gentlemen come around and look at everybody's school and look at things that can be improved upon. It's the accountability system for the adequacy report, and you'll see that report on pages 20 to 24.
Who was the board member that was at it?
I was there. No one else showed up, unfortunately. Yeah, no. I was too, but.
I don't get to work from home.
Any questions on this?
When did it come up? I don't remember. I remember them doing it, but I'm trying to find.
All right.
What was your question?
I was saying, asking if anyone had any questions on this, any discussion, no? Okay. Moving on then.
I'm sorry, I did have one comment. I was trying to, my computer died, so I was trying to find the minutes on my phone. I was a little surprised that in the report, it was said that the teaching staff were disappointed that we didn't have an after-school bus and everything, and I was just surprised that that didn't come up.
I did read that too.
Yeah, that it didn't come up during the whole conversations that we've been having about transportation and everything like that. That would have been the perfect time to bring it up. Not that it would have cured all, but it would have been the perfect time to bring it up.
So, yeah, one thing that sparked my interest on this was the fact that when I was in school, there was always things to do after school. You stayed at school. I mean, it was like, if you went home, you were one of the kids that was okay. You were kind of weird if you went home. You stayed in school, even after school. And it seems like if you're not in a sport and you're not in the after-school program, get up, get away. There's no more of kids staying after and having these programs. And I understand times have changed, and availability for teachers to stay after and collective bargaining agreements and all that. But so we need.
We do have a number of clubs.
Yeah, there
It's
is.
not- so we don't have
But I
anything.
think I'd like to expand it more, and thinking outside the box on this would be a great idea. And then with that, I would like to put in a parking lot item or something for the future.
Right. So maybe expanding clubs and potentially I think in other schools they call it a late bus. I've seen, right, for getting kids home after clubs
Okay.
and sports, maybe. Parking lot would be. Okay, old business. Just the recommendation.
Oh, I got it, thank you, I found it on my phone, thank you.
This is the recommendation for paving? That's what we're up to.
Oh, yes. So, yep. I got to speak to Road 1 paving, and I asked about the 28,000 that we kind of all brought up, and that is to do the whole front, that like we assumed. I asked where it would start, and it would start, if you were looking at, if you pulled right in where that first crack is, pretty much level with the school, right, when you come in, where the buses come in, right there, all the way down. This would include the ramp, the sinkhole, plus the fire department, in front of the fire department, and our exit area. That would be the 28,000. That would include the 3,700 that, that Road 1 paving said that the town would have to come up with. I know that Mr. Gunther came in and said that the town would give 2,500. I was wondering if we could go back to the town and ask for 1,200 more before we make a final vote. If not, then we'll have to make a vote on just what's proposed here.
Bring those documents to the town administrator. Unfortunately, the Board of Selectmen had just met. They don't
Okay.
meet again until June 14th.
And we have one on the
So I
19th.
don't know if that's soon enough
And the thing
to
is,
get a decision from them, or if you just need to go with the 2,500.
right, if we go with the
to get-
2,500, we'll just, when we would cover the extra.
The 12, okay. I mean, our next meeting's what, the 19th?
16th.
The 16th? Yeah, it's so close, so.
The money comes from the same place.
It does.
I mean, that's when we get down
Yeah,
to it, but.
So, that's the only thing. I've looked at the other one from Capital Paving, and we did mention this. Tim had mentioned about there's more detail in this one, and more asphalt, they go deeper. So my recommendation is to continue with Road 1 paving. What I want to present to the board, because there's a lot more, because our last vote's going to be coming up before June 30th, is that be prepared to vote. I'm going to give a presentation of all the facility committee stuff that we kind of were on that wish list thing. If you can look at old minutes, and if you have any questions, please direct them to the facilities committee before, because we won't be able to vote after that unless we have a special meeting. Come up on the 16th, so.
So you want to vote on this?
On the
next
16th,
meeting?
yeah.
Not tonight?
Not tonight, no. I like to give, more of a, I like to give a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, because we also have cabinets that we need to vote on.
Yeah.
We got the doors that are coming in, if we're going to vote on the doors for the stage. So, and there's also the ceiling, that the proposal came in for the ceiling as well. That was $7,500 to drop the ceiling if we wanted to put the panels in. So yeah, there's a lot of things that the facility committee needs to work out, also because there might be some anticipated funds coming from the maintenance line that we could draw from there, that I've talked to Tom about and Wendy about. And next week, Tom, we're gonna have a facilities committee about that. We haven't picked a date yet because it's waiting on me. It's my schedule.
So if we vote in 2 weeks, is that enough time to spend the money
That's what I
before
was
the end
gonna
of the budget?
Are they
It's
gonna be
gonna
able
be
to get in
tight.
here and start
It's gonna be
work?
really
At
tight
least
whether we
start
can
putting
get-
in.
I mean, I don't mind voting on the paving if everybody's willing to do that now, because I have all the factual information. It's just that there's gonna be more coming up too that I mean, is the paving more important than the cabinets and the stage doors and?
Probably.
Yeah, that
Alright.
area out front it's horrendous, and it gets worse every winter.
Well, I mean, somehow we've gotten from paving the exit, which I totally agree with, to paving the whole thing. And I really don't know how that happened. We talked about getting things so we would know for a CIP or whatever. I tell you right now, that doesn't mean it doesn't pass, but I'm not voting to pave the whole thing. I am more than willing to vote in favor of paving the area that's a problem. And next year, we'll try to do a little more.
Yeah, it was just brought up
I
through,
agree.
through the facilities committee, and for that, what it would have cost if we did the whole thing. I mean, so I'm just proposing that that's what the 28,000 is. If someone, if we want to go ahead with that, we can vote on it. If not, but our main goal was the exit area, the ramp, and the sinkhole. And so,
And that's, what, 9,800?
yeah, so the figures for that would be $9,800, yes, because it adds up minus the $2,500 from the town. It'd be $9,800.
Well, the two patches in back are 2,400, and then it's 37 and 37. That's a total of 97.
Yes, oh, yeah, correct, minus the
If
20,
we, if it's $9,800
minus the
for
2,500.
what we discussed at the board via the wish list, and that includes two very bad areas in the back that need some help, and patching the entire area from the corner where the telephone pole is at the exit all the way across the fire department. If we receive 2,500, and I'm not giving up on 3,700, but if we receive 2,500, that would bring it down to 7,300. And I'm more than personally willing to spend that money this year.
What is the ramp?
And I think it should, and I think we need to vote on that tonight, if we want to do it.
So what the ramp,
It's running out.
It is, yeah, sure it is.
the ramp is going down towards the dumpsters, if you go to the side. It's
There's
really.
a shed and a dumpster,
Yeah.
a little shed right directly behind the fire department. And it's really in rough shape.
Well, I've just never been out there, so
Yeah.
I was thinking it was the ramp going to the front of the building, and
Nope.
that's why I was asking.
So,
Those areas need to be
motion to approve 7,300 to,
Up to 7,300?
up to 7,300, to pave to fix the two patches in the back, and to pave the entryway near the fire department, to include, in front of the fire department as well.
Second.
Any more discussion on this?
I just would like, from an accounting standpoint, Mr. Godomsky, Dr. Godomsky, is that going to work out? I mean, they're going to want to bill us for the 9,800. Can we get the 2,500 from the town and accountingly have that offset somehow?
Well,
How is best to work it?
They bill them both?
if it comes in as one bill, we will pay the one bill, and then they bill out the town, and that will come in as unanticipated revenue.
And I think that's personally how we should word, I think we have to approve 9,800.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I really do. And then we'll figure out, meaning the whole thing is gonna cost 98, and we're gonna get 25, and have that clear in the wording. But I really think we need to approve the 9,800.
I mean, the only other way would be for the company to bill out us for the
And we can ask if
7,300
they can
and
do it,
them
and if
for the
we've
25.
approved 9,800 and we only get billed for
Right, if
7,300.
they split the bill and
Yes,
do it
and
that
that
way.
would be great if they would do that. And
certainly
then they
could do
probably
that.
will, but I still think we need to approve the 9,800.
Okay.
So we need you to amend if you're
Okay,
agreeable.
yeah, amend the motion to state up to, have Road 1 paving, spend up to $9,800 to pave the two patches in the back, the front exit entryway, and the front of the fire department.
Second, his amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, just so I'm clear as to who's going to get in touch with Road 1 paving and get this going?
I can do it.
Okay, can you ask them also to split the bill?
I can.
Okay, that'll be the cleanest way to do it.
So I know you're new on the board, so they physically have to do something by June 30th.
Okay.
If they bring a spade and turn over a pothole, then that's fine. But they physically have to do something so that we're legal.
Sooner the better.
Yes, if they
I'm-
can just do it, that's great.
My phone call tomorrow,
Probably not at 2:30 in the afternoon,
they,
or 2:20.
they will be, they'll probably do it the first day when there's no school. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, moving on, we have,
Some of the other items, before you leave this, that he
Yeah.
mentioned, I remember a discussion about cabinets in the art room, but I thought that was going out to bid.
We're still waiting,
Oh,
yeah, for the bid to come back.
okay.
We do,
I assume all the other items just aren't ready this
Yes,
this
correct.
week, unfortunately.
I also have a lighting proposal here for the cafeteria lighting.
Yes.
I don't know whether,
so that's, because that's a two-tier thing, that's the, so if we put the panels in, right, is that, I have that, is it talking about this one here?
is that what you got?
Yes, all right, so if you wanna, if everybody wants a copy.
So, yeah, we're getting pretty close to the wire here, so.
Yep,
Next,
I will-
next meeting, we need all the data,
Yep.
solid recommendation.
It's just,
up or down
yeah,
list.
it's slowly coming in.
Yep, no, I understand, yep.
So if this is is this the only bid that we got?
As of right now, yes.
When did it close? Because aren't there usually closing dates on them?
I never saw the proposal for this one.
I don't think this went out. So I just want to clarify, and Shane is welcome to either agree or not.
Mhm.
So we had some discussions at a facility committee meeting. We also, as a school board, are having some discussion about a CIP, a capital improvement plan. So one of the things that was presented to Tom Sayers in the discussion with the facility is we need to look out some time. And one of the areas that I think this school board needs to enhance, and Tom agrees, and I think Shane agrees, is the cafeteria. I don't personally believe the conversation went, we're going to try to do it this year. We were given a list of things that needed to be done, and I believe we approved around $95,000 or so of those. That discussion, we need to have discussions so that we're thinking about things in the future, not necessarily the board, in this particular case, the facilities committee. And then we need to start planning. We can't just do it all this year. There's no time. There's just simply no time.
Well, in that discussion, though, about the CIP, the discussion was that we won't put, nothing would be in the CIP that was less than $10,000. So this wouldn't be something that would be.
We haven't set that threshold. If you look at the entire package or bundle of what the cafeteria will cost to make it a far better usable facility, including sound, lighting, there's still some stuff that needs to come out, etc., then it's certainly going to be far more than $10,000. The other way is, yes, you can nickel and dime it to death, but, I mean, in my opinion, and I'm just giving you my opinion, we agreed to spend $95,000, and I see all the bills coming through, on the wish list. This other thing was just a separate discussion. I'm personally happy with what we decided to spend the money on. We have spent it. And I really think that at some point, we have to say, okay, we bought a bunch of extra stuff with the extra money that we had, and next year, hopefully we can do the same. We've done it several years in a row, and I hope we can continue it.
Yeah, I don't actually remember this cafeteria lighting
No, that is
being on the
something
wish
really that
list.
the facilities committee discussed.
So it wasn't on the original wish list,
No,
but it was
no, no,
planned
no,
that this come
no,
out of the.
no,
I'm
No,
confused.
this is gonna be a very expensive proposition, and I think we should do it, but we have to look at the whole complete thing, not just put in lighting and then panels and then this and that. I think we have to look at it as a complete proposal as to the direction we're going. And we haven't done that as a facilities committee or as a school board.
Which is part of the strategic plan that
Yeah.
we're looking into.
Okay, we happy with that for now?
But just to end on that real quick, we do have more proposals coming in for the cabinets. And that will be presented, and the stage doors on the 16th.
Okay. So,
And speaking of the cabinets, is that something that we have to ask the SAU or somebody somewhere? We need to push that. Again, if we don't, you have to at least start somehow before June 30th, or we can't spend the money. We you know,
Right. We
there's
have to have
very
this stuff.
specific.
And at this point in time, I mean, we are, if we're not past the 11th hour,
We
we're
really
knocking
are.
on the door,
Yeah.
because it's going to be very difficult to get anything else unless we can
I
start it tomorrow.
I haven't seen any proposals, I haven't seen who they're going out to, and I'm very concerned about that, because we've been talking about those cabinets for 2 months.
We've been talked about those stage doors months ago, and I remember the little gates got passed around in
Yeah,
a picture,
I
and
just-
everybody thought that that wasn't going to
we
work
really-
or do what needed to be done, and yet we're
This
still
is
talking
what-
about them.
I don't even know
Well,
what
the
today is. What does it
cabinets
say,
wouldn't be
5th or
able to be
6th?
worked on until kids are out of the building anyway, so
That's not the issue.
they can break ground on that after the 16th.
I agree with you, but we have a situation where a tractor is gonna cost us twice with this guy because he can do it this year and the other guy can't. And you always run into those things. just because we can spend the money before June 30th, doesn't mean that they can do the work before June 30th. They're being asked by all kinds of school districts and other people.
But like
know.
you said, for the cabinets, he can come in and bang that hammer on
Well,
that thing that's in there right now, and he started
I'm not
work.
breaking any laws. I mean, I was being a little facetious, I guess, you know. He just needs to give it a start. And I know we have one proposal on the
Jen, I'll
cabinets.
start it.
I want to see more. I don't want to do them. I don't think one proposal is right. It was $8,500.
As far as RFPs, we can put out an RFP for anything the board wants an RFP going out for, but Linda can't, I mean, she doesn't have all the specs. If it's coming from the facilities committee, then somebody from the facilities committee needs to get in touch with Linda and tell her exactly what needs to go into the RFP, and then we can get it out.
Was there original RFP? I never saw one for the cabinet, so was that just
No.
outsourced?
And that's I got to be very careful here, but that's a little teet-a-teet going on between me and somebody else. So we have used a person in the, a person who has some skills to do the NEC program, move the NEC program, modify the NEC program, all without going out and getting proposals. It's always bothered me. We have a simple policy. I like to follow it. And at $8,500, the policy is we have to put out an RFP and get it. And if they don't want to do it, then we'll end up with no cabinets.
Let's get the RFP out as soon as possible.
I'll get with Linda.
I mean, there are plenty of cabinet companies that I think would be tickled to death to come in here and give us a fast bid.
And let's,
I mean, if we're putting out an RFP for cabinets at this point, I mean,
Yeah, it's just,
It's true. I mean, yeah. I mean,
you gotta run an RFP probably for
It's
2
already
weeks. I
done.
mean, you are, it's late.
never say never.
There's a will, there's a way.
all right, so if all goes our way, we'll have something to vote on in 2 weeks and get these projects started, if we can. Moving on, crossing guard discussion.
I handed out to the board the memo in front of you. If you turn it over to the back, the crossing guard, we added up to $26,159. We have,
for a crossing guard?
I mean, excuse me, the curriculum, sorry.
Sign me up.
We gave him a good
1 hour a
raise.
day.
Let me
1
start
hour a
over.
day? I want it.
Let me start over. That's the crossing guard and the curriculum director.
The
Sorry about
two-fifths
that.
curriculum director.
Right, correct. Together. There are CBA increases that we had to also take off that figure. And the amount above that is the list that I gave you of $32,974. We just did a very quick run through the budget. We didn't touch the salary line, we didn't touch the insurance line. We anticipate that there will be some savings in each one of those lines, but we haven't got all of the staffing done yet. We don't know the insurance plans that people are taking, so obviously that's a moving target. So all
You're
we
down to
did.
$820.
What's that?
You're down to $820.
If you subtract all of that out, it's $820. The caution that I would throw out there is, this is a straight look at the proposed budget and the default budget and taking areas in the default budget that are higher than what we proposed. Okay, so that's where the savings came from. The caution is that there are also places in your default budget that weren't funded this year. Okay, so there may be some areas in your default budget that were not funded, and those are obviously going to be lower. So, you know, this is just a straight look at areas that we could save in the default budget.
I have a question. These line items that you've listed here, these are the amounts you would like to reduce those line items by, correct?
The task that was charged to us was go through the default budget and find areas that were lower than the proposed budget, higher than the proposed budget, so you could save that amount of money and use that amount of money elsewhere. So that's the only thing that this task was. I'm not making any recommendations whatsoever. This was just identifying those funds.
So taking these amounts out of these line items is not going to zero out any of these lines?
No.
Thank you.
We can leave it blank.
Yeah, right?
If we have to.
And I just want to clarify again, that it's the adopted budget, not the default budget anymore, correct? Because it was our default budget, but now it's our adopted budget. So you looked at the adopted budget versus the proposed budget. I know it was our default, but it's now our adopted.
Correct, because, right.
Okay.
So I don't think you need any decision
Well,
from us
because
on
it
this for
was
now. I
using the
wouldn't
wrong
want to until
verbiage.
we get back from Barrett.
Yeah, this
Anyway,
is, this is just an identification, you know, you had a conversation, do you want to move forward with the two days a week curriculum director? Do you want to move forward with a crossing guard?
I'm sorry, how did Barrett come into that conversation?
Well, I'd like to just hear about the
About the
zero.
$1
Yeah,
zero?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with this, does it?
Well, it might, right?
He just said it
No.
didn't.
No, it
No, no,
won't.
if the curriculum director and the crossing guard lines are at zero right now in the adopted
But we
budget,
can
which
take
they
and
are.
hire a curriculum director and put him under a janitor, and nobody can argue with us.
Well, it's understaffing, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we can't, that's, the issue is not that we can't spend the money. That is not the issue.
It's just you can't spend it on that line.
On that line. So if you look at other furniture or replacement of new furniture, I don't see why they put it in other, why they just said put it in. But we can absolutely, if we want, we just have to balance the budget at the end of the year. We can
Right,
hire a
right.
2-day curriculum director, perfectly legal, and put her under, well, I wasn't gonna
And we
say
had this.
anywhere we want.
We had this exact same conversation down in Nottingham because they had the same question, and Gordon Graham gave us a opinion that it's from the function code, it's not the line. So the line itself is irrelevant, it's the function code.
Function code being what?
Function code meaning, you've got regular education, you've got
So the higher
special
up. Okay.
education, I mean, it's the higher order line. You
Okay.
don't need a dollar in any specific line.
Okay.
That was the ruling that we got back from the attorney.
So,
So at this point, looking at this,
I guess we have
you
to
know, my personal opinion is that you certainly can wait and make the decision on whether you're going to advertise for a curriculum director or a crossing guard. You're looking at a 2 days a week curriculum director, which is going to be, like I've said in the past, hit or miss on who's available, if there's a retired person, if there's somebody that is willing to do a part-time position. I don't believe it's something that we need to post right now, like I would recommend if we had a full-time teaching position, I'd say we need to post it immediately. But this particular position, the same thing with the crossing guard, you know, I'm not sure that that's anything that's vital to move forward right this second.
Except we'd like to keep the guy.
You could do that.
And as far as, I mean, I've looked at the numbers too, I come up with 42,000, not just straight changes, just different things, but, I mean, my personal opinion is if we want a 2-day curriculum director, we can afford it. I don't know, so you don't want to say that in that way?
Well, it always makes me nervous before we get all of the staffing in place and looking at the areas of the budget that were not funded in your default budget, just to make sure that we've got everything covered.
I understand all of that. You know, at some point, and everybody's yammering curriculum director, at some point, what is it worth? And, you know, to everybody to have a 2-day-a-week
Well,
curriculum director.
if we were to make this decision closer to July, early August, at that point in time, we would know all of our staffing, we would know all of our salaries, we would know the insurance plans that people have selected to be on, so we would know all of those expenses in addition to what you've got on this list.
my question would be just, is it more important for the curriculum director to maybe start earlier rather than later, especially where we have, and I know programs and curriculum are two different things, I do know that,
But where we have two new programs that we're starting and we're asking the teachers to learn, is it more important to get that person started earlier rather than later?
Right.
So that they understand the two programs that will help with our curriculum.
Give them the summer to
Right.
get up to speed with that.
So that, that's just the question I'm throwing out there. Again, I don't work here and I don't know, so.
That's a good point.
When do you know when the insurance packages have to be in?
Well, as soon as we get our staffing, I think we could put this on the first July meeting. That way, if we decide to move forward, we could post it, move forward quickly and have.
I think it's pretty clear that we're gonna wanna move forward with this unless for
That's
some
what I was gonna
reason
say, can we post it as an anticipated?
Right, just post it now and then decide in July.
That's not a bad
for sure.
idea.
You can.
Okay.
Right.
And again, I would just hope, and I'm sure you did last time, but that it's really explained to this person, whoever they may be, or all of the applicants or whatever, that what the position is, and that unfortunately it is only 2/5, and, again, the expectations were this, and, the timing is this, and and I know it's hard, believe me, I know it's hard for them to come in because they probably have all this gusto, but unfortunately, it's only 2/5, and the expectations are really big, and just explain to them that.
Well, the expectations need to be.
Yeah, we've had those conversations about coming in, being a realist in what we can expect them to accomplish.
Right.
But we certainly can post an anticipated opening, that's
And
not a
then
bad idea.
if we want to discuss it more, or if we want to wait until, what did you say, the first part of July? If we put that on the first part of July, because then at least it's out there as an anticipated, and, I know I'm for the part-time 2/5
Well,
curriculum
we could
director, so.
post it now, and then
Right.
come July, if we have a nomination, great, right? And then
Because
they
we're
can get
into
started
June
right away.
now,
And
yeah.
if, right,
And I'm hearing at the next meeting, bring back a nomination for a contract for a crossing guard.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, that's enough to,
That was what, I got
Yeah.
from you over 2,600 or something?
I'm not so worried about that. Yeah.
2907.
But yeah, if the board agrees, I think.
2,600, yeah, it was 2,600 for the crossing guard.
That's the same objection, I think the board is asking for it to be posted now.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. If we weren't going to continue with going with the 2/5 curriculum director, would we continue using the contractor that we've been using the last year?
Well, no, not for that task.
Okay.
No, that person would, we've got some grant-funded money that would, I believe, have her back in for additional professional development support, but not as a curriculum director piece.
Okay.
That was just a one-time shot.
Well, and she wasn't really a curriculum director.
For the reading program.
And it was very expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, I noticed.
Okay, moving on to parking lot items. We have a few things on here that we kind of already discussed, the cafeteria sailing. I don't know that we have anything to do with the rest of the stuff so far, right? CIP plan, we're gonna keep moving forward on. What's the stipend list, do you know? Ring a bell for me.
That was probably co-curriculars, I think I'm gonna take that off.
Wanna take that off?
Yeah, because that came to the last one.
Okay. Moving drama to operating budget, we'll talk about that come budget time, I'd imagine. Okay. Get the school board timeline for June. Staff, support staff.
Isn't June a little early for the projected class size, number of classes for coming year?
Well, this is June 2nd, right? So this is something that might be more late June,
August.
yeah.
Don't we have a meeting on the second Wednesday of the month for something?
Next
Second
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
For the,
Principals.
principal?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's not in here.
Oh, is that date?
It's June 8th.
Well, it wouldn't be on the school board responsibilities, because this is an
Right,
annual.
Right, but we should put it on the future meetings.
Yes.
I was thinking future meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we,
That'll have to be posted.
Yes.
Yep.
We were gonna, I've got other items on that with non-public. I was gonna talk to you in that.
nominations for coaching and club positions, that's ongoing. I assume?
Yeah, that's, we have to wait for the,
Wait for that, okay. Subcommittee reports,
Budget committee.
let you go.
Budget committee met Tuesday night and came back with the following questions that I emailed out to you all today. I think they would like answers to these questions by the time of their next meeting, which is July 20th. I don't really have anything to say that's not
I
on this
think-
list. So, I mean, if you read it, you know what I had to deal with,
I
so.
think maybe when Marjorie's here, we can talk about it with her too, about a lot of these questions are probably.
Yeah, I
her
think
purview.
Marjorie could actually go through and just
Yeah.
fill in the blanks on most of these questions. I don't
Yeah,
think
we
these are,
we got those questions today.
Yes.
Thank you for sending them.
Sure.
And we'll have all the answers.
Great.
wonderful.
Any other subcommittee meetings? of interest?
athletic,
Yeah.
meeting, next week to go over, haven't picked a date yet for you or Scott to show up for that, because you said just give us a date and you guys would be there, whoever's available. But it'll be next week to, because we got 2 outsourced, 2 insourced.
The policy committee met today. I don't think that nothing was in the agenda or in the packet, but there was the question on, for GBJR, the personnel records. Number 5, the list of employees, their addresses, and their salary shall be tendered to any citizen upon request in accordance with RSA 91A. And Scott actually talked to Barrett today, and that is part of the right-to-know law, and we are required by law to hand out their addresses.
So we'll get those policies back next meeting for a,
I think so, yeah, they should.
for a second reading?
Yeah, type them up. I just wanted to let you know that.
So that's GBJ
GBJR.
and associated. We'll put those on the agenda for next week, next meeting, I'll say next week. Okay, any future agenda items? What I have written down for what I thought we would do in 2 weeks is make a decision on the policy review through the NHSBA. Make a final decision on food service. We could approve the lease for the kids program. Hopefully get all the facility stuff done. The other thing is, do we want to have a discussion on Go Math equipment? Sounds like there's some questions about that. That's something we could add to that agenda. If people want.
I think the equipment that they need is computers, and that was kind of why I was saying, I mean, I know they're going through testing right now and everything, but that's why I wanted Mr. Robert to come in and sort of give us an update on, the utilization of the computers and these netbooks and stuff like that, what's going on with them.
Yeah, can we support the Go Math program coming up?
Yeah.
So, our next meeting is in 2 weeks, school will be over. So testing will be done. I wonder if Mr. Robert will have time to come and talk to us.
Well, that had come up before, and I believe we have him on the,
I had said over the summer, but I didn't realize that there was such an issue.
yeah, I'm thinking second July meeting, I think is where we had
And
him.
the next meeting, and we need to spend $5, $6, $7, $8, $10,000, it's too late.
Sure.
Oh,
And
the
at next
computers.
No,
meeting,
yes.
if you're gonna do the policy thing at the next meeting, that's in 2 weeks, then, I mean, he already said it was gonna be tight if we made a decision tonight. Barrett,
What?
Christina?
Oh, you were going back to the other thing, sorry, you went from the computers to
just-
that, so
I
I was
don't think-
confused, yeah. And I was gonna say the same
I'm concerned that
thing.
we don't understand, or that we're not putting enough attention that the end of our school year is in 28 days.
Right.
Okay? So,
She's saying
is
if Mr. Robert
anybody
comes
not
back.
prepared to make a decision tonight on the Barrett Christina looking over our policy for a cost of $1,200? And if so, why can't we do that tonight?
We could, if the board wants to.
So I'll make a motion that we in fact have the New Hampshire School Board Association go through at a cost of $1,200 our policies and make available to us what we need to make them perfect.
Second.
Any further discussion on that?
I just want to say then, if we're going to have him do that, is it worth the policy committee meeting and, because some of these,
So,
I mean, if he's going to go through these though and make changes on them.
But then you would know if you disagree with the changes or you had a question about the changes.
Well, it's not so much disagreeing with him, because most of what he's gonna put into them is law, you know?
But, I mean, policies aren't all just law. I mean, there's stuff that we want to have as local rules as well.
Policies are not law.
There's
Well,
stuff-
they
there's some that
follow
we do need by
the,
law,
some of
but-
them, like the RSAs, they have to
Right,
follow
right.
an RSA, so
But I
that's what I
suspect, I
meant.
suspect he's gonna be, making sure we're caught up on the law for all these things, but not necessarily that it's customized to our needs or
Okay.
our desires. So I think it's still probably worth, maybe which ones, maybe it makes sense to pick and choose, but. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
So could we ask Dr. Godomsky to inform him tomorrow so that he can figure out the finances so that
I will do that.
we can get on this year's bill?
All right, well, we can cross that off the list for next
I'll
time
get in
then.
touch with him
I
tomorrow.
do have one other proposal that we might want to think about, and then we could probably wait, seeing that. About the tractor. We don't want to wait too long and not have the
Well,
money.
I think that's a good point.
So I talked to a mattress who was about $1,200 lower. He cannot do it. I even asked if he's like, hey, can you take the tractor and do some work to it? His summer is all haying, so he doesn't do any work. So the other proposal was Charlie's tractor. So I make I don't have that figure in front of me. I would. Yeah, how much it was, 4,000 something.
Do you remember what meeting it was from?
April.
April?
I do have all my minutes.
Was it in the packet? That would be the only thing.
I think it was.
Do you have a way of searching for that?
Not like through minutes and stuff?
Just when, if, and please don't take this in a negative way. If I said to Carol, can you tell us how much the bid was on the tractor? She has a search something that she puts tractor and could tell us
All
in
the minutes,
seconds.
PDFs.
I'm just wondering if you had anything like that.
I can check on, you mean like right now? I
Yes.
can tell you? Oh, I can't do it.
No, okay, I'm just asking, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know the way of doing that.
Yeah, I don't
With PDF files, unfortunately, they're not.
I've seen Carol do it many a
I
time.
think
I
what
don't
she
know,
did
maybe
was,
I'm just- yeah,
I
just
think
don't
what
know.
she did was bounce back to the last minutes and then search
Right.
through the
You can
minutes.
search through
She
one-
had some
each
kind of a
set
search.
minutes, yeah.
I tried
Do
to
a word once you
ask
get
her,
into
and-
the
Right,
minutes.
right.
I mean, yeah, I can do it.
Right, you have to search through each individually, though, yeah,
Right,
that's,
yeah,
right, that's what I
Yeah.
think too, yeah.
You won't search through the file.
And I can,
Okay.
Right, right.
Just give me 2
It was
seconds.
very important to me. Else that,
Anything else for the agendas while Shane's looking around that we want to put on for next week? I get all the facility stuff, the policies, the lease, the food service decision, and I guess we'll talk to Steve the following meeting, right? So we don't do that.
Dr. Godomsky was looking into strategic planning stuff for us.
Yes.
A
Yep,
meeting or
that's
two
right.
ago. What
Yep.
happened to that?
I reported on that in my report tonight.
Yeah.
We're
And,
gonna get
It's
bids, right?
yeah, we're in,
Bids.
we're in the,
Okay, I thought that's where we were at, but I
yeah,
wasn't
it's gonna
sure.
have to go through an RFP.
Okay.
So, will that be done for
Well,
next meeting?
usually, we can have the RFP for your approval next meeting, and then it'll have to run for a couple of weeks, obviously, from there.
Okay, let's do that then. We'll put that on there. Great. So Steve will come in maybe July, first week of July?
Yeah, I've got him scheduled already for one of the July meetings.
Okay.
I can't remember which one.
Okay,
it was,
that's
first
fine.
one or the second one.
I think that, everybody okay with Steve coming in then?
We've already talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna be advocating any.
Okay, here we go. What else?
I stopped mine, so hopefully you found it. Let's take it.
Okay, it's $4,355.94.
So moved.
That's for what? Repairing the tractor?
Private Charles Tractors repair the tractor for up to $4,356.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay.
So, could I just say one thing about the Go Math? Is there any chance Dr. Kodowski could look into that fairly quickly, and perhaps it's not a big expense that could be expended without school board approval?
I intend to look into that.
Okay.
Well, and isn't the plan, like, I always thought the plan was like, as the 8th graders, because they're 6 through 8 right now, right, the netbooks? Correct. So I always thought, like, as the 8th graders, like, the bigger classes went through, that those netbooks would be sort of,
I'm sure Steve has a plan.
yeah.
I'll
And
bring
that's
it
what I
up.
always thought the
Yeah,
plan
we'll
was,
talk.
so. Do you know what I was saying? Like,
Well, I do. I'm not totally sure if the netbooks is the Go Math. I mean, I'm.
no, that's what they need. They need a
It's
computer.
some kind of a cart.
Yeah, and that's what those are, is netbooks, right? Those are the netbooks, yeah.
Okay, so I don't know what she was talking about. It
So-
sounded important, and sounds like it'll be looked into.
Future meetings, we have a school board meeting next 2 weeks, June 16th. There's a joint board meeting at the SAU office on June 20th. That we have our two July meetings scheduled, the 7th and the 21st. June 8th is what?
Well, that's up to you. We've got an update on the principal search committee that I'd like to talk to you about in non-public, and part of that would be a decision on whether you're going to have a forum on June 8th or not,
Okay.
and a board meeting.
Okay.
You can decide that after we update you in non-public.
Okay. Do we have any closing public comment? Yep, Ms. Royer.
Linda Royer, I'm speaking as an employee of Northwood School. After listening to the presentations about the food service, I just have a question about logistics. Our students currently have 25 minutes in the cafeteria, and that's 25 minutes to get them in, have them get their lunch, and then have them leave the cafeteria. And the idea of build your own sandwich and a yogurt bar, it sounds really great to me, and I'm all for really good nutrition. But I'm just wondering, like, how we are going to get the kids in, how they're going to get their food, how they're going to have time to consume their food, and then be ready to go to their next academic activity. I'm concerned about especially the kindergarten through 2nd graders, and wondering about the winter months, because sometimes they come in from recess and they have on their winter gear that they have to take off before they even get in to the line to get their food. I've done cafeteria duty before, and for grades 3 and 4, and also for grades K1 and 2, and I just know logistically that the kids probably will not have enough time to do all of that in that 25 minutes. And we did increase our instructional time, so I don't think that we want to start losing time from our instructional time. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the public? Any closing comments from board members? Okay, that's the end of that. I believe we have a non-public session to go into.
Yes, under B and C.
If any of the members of the public want to be informed, often after our non-public, we have a short public meeting. We go back into public, usually it's just adjourning, but sometimes we do have small discussions. Just let somebody know when you go outside, we can go out and knock on the door and let you back in. But if you don't let us know, we're gonna not go out there, so. So if you guys want to come back, let me know. All right,
Motion to go into non-public?
second. Roll call vote, Tim?
Yes.
Keith, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All right. Non-public, please.
I'd like to, the Principal Search Committee would like to bring Jocelyn Young forward as a finalist for the principal position, and we'd like to recommend that she come into district on June 8th and meet the staff and be in the building from noon to approximately 3:30. And then that evening, 5:30 to 6:30, have a parent forum where the community members can come and meet her and ask questions and gain some comfort. And then at 6:30, have a school board meeting for the sole purpose of interviewing, doing a final interviewing of Jocelyn, and then making a decision on whether it's a good fit.
Any objection to that? I don't know if we have to have a motion. for
That's all fine. Again, everything is in a hurry, and I just couldn't, well, I don't want to be adversarial. I think it's very important for us to understand that $12 million is not ours. It's the town's. It's the town's, not just the parents, but all of the people that pay taxes. So we have a really tough job. How are we going to inform 4,000 people in this town in 1 week that you're going to have this? Now, the alert now will tell some parents, but that's not fair. They're not the ones who pay all the bills. Any citizen should have the right. So somebody needs to call Ross tomorrow morning at the Sun and beg him to be a little late and send something over to have it in next week's paper, for one.
I can have the town administrator put it on all the town
You know,
Facebook
we,
pages.
it's, you know, it's, you know, they have a.
Put it on the sign.
Yeah, put it on the sign and other signs, they have a Thursday 4, but he will bend, if somebody personally calls Ross over there, he will bend the rules, and he will get a little blurb in the Sun for us, and, you know, costs us $20, $50, I don't know. But at least to invite the public, because the last time, if you remember, a lot of people came who were not parents. And they have a right to come and see who the new principal is coming that they're paying for and ask questions.
Will you put it on the Facebook page?
That's what I want to
Yeah, do it.
But,
We
I
can
mean-
put it on the town, there's 3,
Oh, yeah, this,
well, we have 3 Northwood.
yeah, this Northwood community pages. So we can
Yep,
put it on.
all 3 of them.
Yep.
And Joe can post on those, as long as she comes. I don't want to post until I know for sure that she has agreed.
That's true.
I've
That's a
already
very
talked
good
to her.
idea.
Oh, she's
So-
in.
so she's
Yes.
in to
Oh, okay.
I told her to
reserve
set
that day.
aside the 8th, and I would call her tomorrow.
It's our phone call.
So she's
Okay.
all set for that.
All right, I'll post it then.
Town bulletin board.
Yes, the rotating town bulletin board is another place we could put it. On MetroCast, I forget what we are, 'cause I don't get it.
Yeah, because everybody watches.
I didn't even, I was
A
like, what is
surprising
that?
amount of people watch it. I just can't believe it, but they do.
I'll tell Joe tomorrow.
I guess there's music they like, while they're doing their dishes and stuff.
I'm going to make up a schedule too, and I'll email it out to all of the board members, so
Yeah,
you'll
we can
have
spread
that
the word.
schedule. We'll get it on as many media outlets as we can think of. I'll send a notice to the budget committee, any other committees, you know, we'll send it as far and wide as we can possibly
So
do that.
that was another thing that surprised me yesterday or the day before. The town has one email blast that they can put out that goes to about 80 people, which is every board member. So planning board, committee, budget committee, select board. If you wanted to reach all of the town people, and he told me there's like 80, 85 of them, and invite them, that's just contact Joe and he can do that.
I can call Joe and see what we can get out.
Yeah, I didn't realize he had that.
Totally forgot about the picnic until you just said that. And then-
Yeah, there's a picnic on Saturday at 11.
Until you just said that.
Where's the picnic?
The ball fields.
Nobody invited me.
I invited you.
You did not.
I most certainly
It came
did.
as an
Motion
email.
to adjourn, anyone?
Oh.
Oh.
Joe
months-
sent an email months
Second,
ago.
so moved.
Yeah,
But-
months ago.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, or moved,
All
or
in
whatever
favor?
Shane said.
Aye.
Aye.
Done, guys.